What's up, everyone? This is Brandon, host of Brandon's Show. It's Thursday, January 7th, 2021. Hope everybody's doing good out there. I'm doing pretty good here. The cat is leaving me alone for now, so that's a good sign for the technical continuity of the show. We'll see how that works out. Let's see who we've got in chat. We've got YouTube. What up? SE, Flat for Life, SE, Rachy, what's up, Rachy? Ian Adams, what's going on? Ian, Rodney B, Page 42, Matrix Media, what's going on, guys? I see a little bit of wrench envy going on in the chat. Yeah, it is what it is. Let's see what else we got going on. Okay, today we're going to talk about this conversation between Blue Marble Science and myself that happened a week or two ago on Jose's show, having to do with airplane flight and being able to tell the difference between, yes, my mic's working, sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a minute. Between a rotating globular Earth and a flat stationary plane, and how that impacts flight, how you actually have to fly a plane, and if there's any way to tell a difference between the two when you're in an airplane flying through the atmosphere over the Earth. Pretty interesting stuff, and he has made a response video. Not really a response video, because it was a very cordial conversation, as you'll see. More like an addendum to the conversation, where he then comes up with some reasons why he knows the Earth is a ball, even though none were offered in the original conversation. So that was kind of cool. Also going to talk a little bit about the different, we'll call it evidence, that's been provided to substantiate that the atmosphere is moving. Got some really, really great stuff that's been provided by the ballers in Discord and elsewhere. I'll share that with you, get the panel's thoughts on the different pieces of evidence that have been offered, see if any satisfies our, requirement for evidence, and we can talk about that. If you do want to support the show, you can do it through Streamlabs. The link is in the description for the show. You can super chat too. This is the preferred method. I'll put the link in here as I do each show and pin it to the top. All support is appreciated. The best way you can support the show is to come on in and talk to us, bring us some new evidence, a new argument. Just come into the Discord and hang out, chat with the baller trolls that we have in there. If you want to waste some time, or hang out and chat, listen to the show, whatever. I'm good with anything, really. But okay, let's go to Discord and see what is going on.
Same as it ever was.
Same as it ever was. I love that song. Talking Man with Talking
Man. It's one of my favorite songs for sure. That's a great song.
Yep.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Whenever someone mentions staying safe now, it's like I automatically associate it with people who are telling other people to stay safe because of this pandemic that's killing everybody. Stay safe, guys. And so it's like I'm doing what I normally do because this is a big nothing burger. That's what I'm doing.
Do you know how many people in BC? Where I'm at in BC, there's 5.5 million people. Do you know how many deaths are related to COVID?
How many?
600. Hold on. Let me clarify. 5 are actually from COVID directly. The rest are all COVID related with 3 to 5 diseases.
Oh my God!
But we're locked down. We're locked down. We're shut down here with 5.5 million people and only maybe 2 people in the ICU right now, or 150 across the board.
Sorry, bro.
But maybe 2 in our province.
That's 1/10,000th of a percent data.
Yeah, I get it. But why? What's going on, guys? This is evidence for every average person to go see themselves on the website. You could go to BC's website and go look at how many people. Maybe it's probably changed. My statistics are at least a couple weeks old now. But
so what I'm hearing is that we should probably shut everything down forever, right?
We're not leaving.
What's going on? Tell us. When's it going to stop? Because you know what? I know that it doesn't affect kids because the data comes out. I think in Canada, 3 kids died of COVID. Out of all of Canada, only 3 kids. It doesn't affect them for the most part. So why are we like? I can't take my kids to karate, man. What the fuck's going on?
I don't know when it's going to stop, but I, from what I understand, the Democrats took the Senate, and I may end up with like over $8,000 in additional stimulus checks.
Yeah, I understand, bro. It helps a lot of people. I get it. Yeah. You can't complain when money's free, but it's always with a double burden, man.
Yeah, that's it. What are we going to give up down the road for, that few dollars? You think about $8,000 is a good chunk of change, but in most cities or states around here, how far is that going to get you?
They're not asking.
Buy Bitcoin.
They're not asking you to pay. They're not saying,
all Bitcoin.
Take this money, but give us this. They're saying, take this money, and we're going to go do the other thing later down the line anyway, whether you take the money or not.
I'll tell you who's going to end up paying for it. It's going to be your children.
Pretty sure. Yep. I don't think it matters in the long run. I think that money will stop being of value long before anybody has to actually worry about any of that.
And then what are they going to hold up over you? They have to hold something up over you so you're motivated.
Anything else they normally would land or whatever.
They can give you a portion of money to suffice basic sustenance, but that only lasts for a short period of time. And it's a human nature to want to, get out of that, to get out of your cocoon, so to speak. At least it is for me. I don't think you could be buried forever without wanting to come out once in a while.
I don't think that money is inherently valuable. I don't think that it matters. See, like the Republicans, they'll whine all the time about how the debt is getting too high and all that stuff, and then they'll go like seemingly just who cares and sign like $500 billion we need to fund the military bill, okay, which is retarded. That's just any Republican who will sign a bill like that for the military and then also claims they care about like the national debt, they're a liar or they're ignorant or both. Because we don't need to have all of our military in everybody else's country protecting their freedom or whatever the bull crap they claim they're doing. We could bring everybody home and just worry about our people like we're supposed to. So I don't think money actually has any real meaning. I think it's a system that's established by a group of people, and then enough people accept it as the system.
Bobby, if it didn't have any meaning, if you didn't have any meaning, you would be laughing like a giddy schoolgirl over the $8,000.
I like what.
Rome used to do. I didn't say it doesn't have any value. It doesn't have any meaning.
Flat for Life, thank you for the $10 Streamlabs. Much appreciated. Much appreciated.
What the money is. The money is the money. We decide whether or not it's going to be worth something or not. They could add $10 trillion. They could add $100 trillion. All that matters is what will the other person actually give me for it. It doesn't matter how much of it they print. It only matters what people will give you for it. So it doesn't have any meaning. I know what people will give me for it right now. So yeah, I'm happy to get more of it for free. I don't have to do anything except maybe fill out some paperwork, but I might not even have to do that. And they'll give me money, and I already know what people will give me for that money that really isn't worth anything. So yeah, I'm giddy.
Your kid, it's not free. Your kids are going to end up paying for it.
Well, in the U.S., it's actually coming out of your future taxes. The money they're giving you now.
That's what I mean. Your kids,
right? But the system isn't sustainable. It's going to fall down burning at some point. It is
sustainable if it's conjured money, my friend. They just have to keep the fear cycle going. So it will never end because it's conjured. It's digital. It doesn't make sense, and it has no meaning or value.
If that's the case, then you don't ever have to worry about
what it is
back because they'll always make more.
It's given value based on fear of not having something.
That's accurate.
So you don't want to have nothing, so you want to have money, right? So the system will never collapse unless they purposely do it because it's conjured.
Or they generate more fear than they were able to keep control of, in which case people, like what's already seemingly started to happen now is people are calling for the higher ups to basically, they have to spread out their wealth, okay? They have to be forced to spread out their wealth, okay? Which there could be an argument to be made that like rich people, like they should pay more taxes, blah, blah, blah. But the point is, if they generate too much fear, more fear than they can handle in a certain time period, they might generate so much that basically the people are like, we're burning it down and starting over.
That will come when the food supply is done. You can't do that to a happy, fed, docile civilization. You have to stir the civilization by removing rights and then food. So food will be next.
Yeah, I don't know where all this is going, but one of the only reasons we can keep printing this money is that the U.S. dollar is used as the petrodollar, and we have all this military might around the world that we're projecting out there. So I don't know. Eventually, one way or the other, I think we're going to have to. Things will change, but yeah, if they're handing out checks, I'm going to take the check. I'm not going to turn the money down. They take my money anyway.
Right, like I said, it's not like they're saying right now,
back,
hey, if you take this check, but then your kids, they're going to have to pay for it. It's not that. What it is we're going to offer you this check. You can take it or not take it. And later down the line, they're going to try and do things to our kids either way. It doesn't matter if we take the check or not now. They're going to keep being bad people. They're bad people. Like it's not like you can save your children from the bad people by not accepting free, worthless money.
Yeah, it's just not fiscally responsible for them.
You just got to tell your children. You got to teach your children how to be good people.
We're so far from fiscal responsibility, or
I know
our Senate being good stewards of the country. It's not even funny. I mean, we got
my friend used to work in I had a friend in the Marines, and he was in one of the places, and they would get a budget every quarter, year, whatever, I forgot. But he's like, yeah, when the budget's up, we spend all the money regardless. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, we got to spend all the money on whatever we can think of to buy. I'm like, that doesn't seem a good way for our government to be spending money. He's like, yeah, but if we don't spend all the money, we get less money next time.
Yeah, I saw that.
We got to spend all the money.
I saw that when I worked in the defense industry too. Come Christmas time, they'd come up with excuses for people to have to work over the holiday and work overtime because they wanted to increase their billing. So they'd have people in there doing, some design thing or some analysis, just kind of sitting around doing bullshit paperwork, and then start all over come the new year. Make sure they get as many hours billed as they can against the contract if they haven't billed enough during that year.
My dad would do bids for the military, and he had finished doing a bid one time, and gave it to him, and they came back and they said, what is this? Okay. And he explained to them this, this is how much it's going to cost. And they said, no. I don't care if you go back out there and play golf all day. You go out there and you make sure that when you come back, this number is way higher, because if you don't, next time they're going to expect us to do it basically with less money.
Yep.
Yeah.
I also have a friend that works in the court system, and he's a computer programmer, and he programmed this. He made this program that would it did like 3 or 4 things that humans used to do, and he brought it to his boss, and his boss said, "Why would you ever automate something a human can do?" Like, that's how they're operating with our money.
100%.
Right. I've got some. I want to talk about the atmosphere briefly here, and we've had some.
No such thing.
Okay.
It's not a sphere, man.
The gas that surrounds us. So, whatever you want to call it. The cloud of gas that is around us. And I've had some interesting reasons for, or evidence presented to me over the last couple days for how we can tell that this cloud of gas is actually moving. I didn't know if you guys are aware of this, but there are people who think that the air all around us is actually moving up to like 1,000 miles an hour when there's no wind. It's pretty interesting. So I thought I would share the evidence that I have collected from them over the last 2 or 3 days and get your guys' thoughts on it. Sound good?
Yeah, let's do it. Fluid dynamics.
I'm down for it. Maybe?
I'll give you the different arguments. Here is the trash blowing on the side of the road when you pass it in a car. That was provided by our very own Left Lane Howard the other day.
Now, hold on. This is all supposed to be proof that gas spins in sync with a sphere, with the surface of a sphere.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. So
okay, repeat that first one again.
Trash blowing on the side of the road when you pass it in a car.
How's that? I don't get it.
No, don't try to understand. Just let it roll over you. Okay, absorb it.
Yep. So that's one. That was an interesting one. The word friction. Just friction.
Okay.
Here's one. This one comes with a graphic here. This is let me share my screen here.
Oh yes, please do.
Yeah, you're gonna love this one. Okay, you should see it now.
Right,
let me know when you see it.
Watch stream. Oh, I see it.
Okay. This appears to be a rotating or a bowl of water on a rotating empty cable spool.
Okay.
And someone sticks their finger in.
And it makes
So
waves.
the Earth is the bowl and the water is the gas?
I don't know.
I don't know. What?
I don't even get that.
Anybody see how this could possibly provide evidence that the atmosphere is rotating with the Earth?
No. This is a very specific claim they make, and we want it to be demonstrated with something verifiable. We want to see gas rotating around the surface of a sphere with the top gas layer measured and the bottom gas layer measured, and we'll see that it's all moving in sync with each other.
Yep,
If they
exactly.
can't demonstrate that, I don't know what they're wasting their time, because that's the claim they made, and we need them to back that up with a demonstration.
Yeah, so this is a demonstration of something. I don't see how it applies to the Earth, but okay. The words fluid dynamics, just fluid dynamics.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think I was even offered a picture of from a textbook. Let's see what this one is here. Yes, this right here is when you search Google for fluid dynamics. This is what comes up on the right-hand side. So this is meant to explain the atmosphere moving with the Earth. In physics and engineering, fluid dynamics is a subdiscipline of fluid mechanics that describes the flow of fluids. Okay, anybody get anything out of that? No?
Nada.
All right, let me know if any of this convinces you or you come up with if it clicks for you. The word gravity. Conservation of momentum.
Angular or linear?
Maybe the most compelling one, if you're into government photos, was Himawari 8. Pictures from space. That seems to come at the end of the conversations. And let me see what
Stuff we can't verify.
Yeah, unverifiable. Okay, this one's a good one too. This is a little demonstration of rotating water and air sphere.
You know what they say? Hold on. You know what they say to that when I say it's not verifiable? They'll say you can verify that it's up there. So if I can verify that a camera's anywhere, that means that whatever picture came from it is legit.
Oh, is that how that works? If you can point to something in the sky.
That's what it sounded like. Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I don't trust my government, so that's kind of out for me.
Yeah, no doubt.
So this is sort of similar, getting closer towards what you're asking for, Jeremy, which is a demonstration of a sphere surrounded by gases that all rotate in sync with the sphere when it's rotated, right?
Hold on. Is it you're playing it in Discord?
Yeah. So this it looks to be some kind of
going on?
It's a plastic ball filled with water being rotated on some kind of I don't know what this is down here, some
well, that's kind of reversed and not gas, but it's okay. So the inside of the liquid is moving at the same speed as the outside of the liquid?
I don't know. There's no information about the speed or anything. It's just essentially a plastic thing filled with water being spun. This is what they were trying to get at. They have a description here. Experiment for understanding the dynamics of a rotating spherical chamber containing liquid and gases. This creates a central column of air. That's interesting. I think is possible to create the conditions, speed, quality of air to maintain a small air bubble in the center of the chamber. So evidently this person was trying to create some kind of air bubble, and you can see that being created in the center of this.
So they managed to keep an air bubble inside a spinning sphere of water?
I guess, yeah, you can see it kind of comes down into the center of it. It's probably pretty small on the screen, but
I don't know how this relates, but all right.
yeah, I don't know if there's like a spinning column of air that comes. I don't think this is a good analogy for Earth, personally.
Yeah, we need to see a. Go ahead.
No, that's fine. Go ahead.
We need to see a sphere with gas around the outside of the sphere. The top layer and bottom layer of the gas need to be spinning in sync with the surface of that sphere. That's all. Anything short of that is nothing.
It would essentially be like taking the outside of this, surrounding it with gas, the atmosphere, which it is surrounded by, and rotating this and then measuring the speed of the air that is closest in contact with this sphere, and it would somehow all be moving at the same speed. If you can imagine that in your head, as crazy as it sounds.
I know what I need to see in my head. You know, that's exactly what I said.
Oh, you're roboting a little.
There doesn't need to be any water for this.
Yeah. This isn't it, in my opinion.
Yeah, there doesn't need to be any water. There should be no water unless you're going to show water sticking to the surface of a ball and then the gas on outside of that. Then that'd be awesome. But
yeah, this doesn't cut it. All right, here's one. I told Brandon before, get a tennis ball, attach it to a drill, and then dip the tennis ball in a bucket of water and spin the ball. Watch as the water rotates and speeds up its rotation over time until it matches the ball's rotation close to the ball, and due to drag friction on the sides of the bucket, that water will move slower. It all perfectly explainable, predictable, using science and maths.
So once again, we got a bucket with water, and is there any measurement of the? Oh, he wants you to do this. This is what's called a burden of proof reversal fallacy, where they make a claim that we're on a spinning ball and the air is sticking to it, all moving at the same speed with the surface, and then they want us to prove it
with a drill and a tennis ball in a bucket of water.
And it's not even analogous, even if we were to do that. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll pass on that one. I don't know what information I would get out of doing that. I gave him a kindergarten example of a transparent plastic ball with a colorized glass inside. Spin the ball, watch the gas swirl with the spin. Done. Easy. But no, how can that be?
So in that example, we have a plastic ball with gas inside of it, right?
Yep.
And the gas on its inside of the sphere is going to rotate with the inside surface of the sphere?
Well, he uses the word swirl. Watch the gas swirl.
Well, we don't want it to swirl. We want it to move with the surface that's spinning.
Mike Ted.
What's up, Jimbo?
Hey, you're good.
Hey, I just want to say that, like in that one demonstration, he's substituting water with air. They're very different in properties.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
I said there doesn't need to be a fake comparison.
Yep.
Yeah, I told him there doesn't need to be water with this. There should be no water in this. It's gas we're worried about.
Here's another reason they gave me. There aren't 1,000 mile per hour winds on the surface of Earth. Okay.
No, because their claim is that it's moving to the. Who said that?
I don't remember who it was. There's like 4 or 5 people.
Then how come the jet streams are moving at 300 miles an hour? We do have these things called jet streams, and they move at 300 plus miles an hour.
My understanding of what they think is that everything is moving at the same speed, and then you add the wind on top of it. So you'd add the jet stream on top of it. So it'd be like plus or minus whatever the rotational speed is.
That's exactly what they think.
I can be on the ground and feel wind in my face coming from the west, see clouds moving to the west, and higher above those low clouds, there can be clouds moving to the east.
Yeah.
The air seems to be able to move in multiple directions at one time.
You know what? Actually, they need to show They don't need to show that that the air is spinning the same speed. They need the air on the outside of the sphere, on the top layer, to be moving faster than the bottom layer, ahead of it. So if you got a ball spinning east, you need the wind on the outside layer, the top layer of the sphere, to be spinning faster east, because that's what happens. That's what they say happens on Earth. I sent you that citation for that, Brandon, earlier.
Well,
Yeah,
we often do get rotation because of air fronts that meet. When hot and cold air meet, like when you get out of the shower and the hallway is cold, you open the bathroom door, you see a little tornado for a few seconds. The same thing happens outside when hot air and cold air mix.
Yeah, I think in
And
fact
it's happening all the
sometimes that
time.
results in tornadoes and hurricanes, if I understand correctly.
And it's a natural phenomena. You know, down south we watch these roller clouds coming in. The whole horizon just is black, and this kind of low-laying cloud rolls over. It's storm. Don't get me wrong, but it's storm over hundreds of miles. And sometimes this one long horizontal cloud will split and then be turned upwards because it's broken by, well, an air mass on the ground that it couldn't overcome. And when these two open ends turn up and rise up, they usually become tornadoes. A rolling front that gets broken, upturns at the edges, and vortices often form.
Sure.
But there are other ways tornadoes form, but that's just one way from these rolling clouds.
Okay.
They're rolling horizontally. It's cool.
All right. So the 1,000 miles per hour winds. Yep. We don't see any wind. We know the Earth is spinning, therefore the atmosphere is spinning.
Hold on. What did the "we don't see 1,000-mile-an-hour winds on Earth" mean?
Yeah, there aren't 1,000-mile-per-hour winds on the surface. So I think they're meaning, well, if the atmosphere wasn't rotating with the Earth, then we would see 1,000-mile-per-hour winds, you know, at the equator or whatever the speed that's supposed to match the surface of the rotating sphere that they live on.
The fastest wind.
The problem is I posted this in chat. My bad. Go ahead, Jimbo.
Sorry. The fastest winds that ever hit the ground are the jet stream when it's forced down around, you know, the Adirondacks and other places. And when it does blow down and hit the ground and the trees, it knocks down everything because it's 300 miles an hour on the ground.
Yeah, the problem with this argument is, I said this in chat earlier, we're letting them beg the question twice before we even get to this step. You know what I mean? We're giving them the spinning Earth, and then we're giving them that Earth's a sphere. So
yeah, we're entertaining this whole thing, this whole idea, just to see, you know, where did they come up with this idea? What evidence did they base this on? Can they show us this phenomena of this gas cloud that is rotating in perfect sync with this solid underneath? I'm just curious what they base their opinion on, or their beliefs.
That's why that guy would say something like that. Well, since there's not 1,000-mile-an-hour winds, it has to be rotating with Earth.
Right.
There's no other. What's the other option?
Exactly. So they just assume it because, well, of course, in their minds, the Earth's a ball. Yeah, and that's what they say. We know the Earth is spinning, therefore the atmosphere is spinning. It's big. back now. We should be live right now. Okay, well, for those that are still out there, thanks for sticking around. Sorry about that. The system just completely crashed and there was absolutely nothing I could do. Luckily, you guys let me know that I was making nonsense noise or making a horrible sound. So thank you very much to the chat for letting me know, because I didn't realize that. I thought it was somebody else roboting. But anyway, let's finish this up. I think the 1,000-mile-per-hour winds at the surface was the last one that I mentioned. Another one is it's basic physics. It's basic physics. That's meant to explain it and be evident somehow. But the most comprehensive comes from our very own in-house baller troll, WS, who said, let's make it really oversimplified for you. The Earth rotates 1,030 miles per hour at the equator. Every atom of the gases in the atmosphere that comes in contact with the 1,000-mile-per-hour ground or anything attached to it receives a 1,000-mile-per-hour push in the direction of the rotation. Those particles then hit other particles and transfer some of that 1,000-mile-per-hour to the new particles. As new particles come in contact with the ground, they get a 1,000-mile-per-hour push. So like piggybacking pushes. This continues over and over again. This constant input of energy in the same direction keeps happening until the atmosphere is in lockstep, and at which point the input only maintains the motion already gained, exactly the same as the water in the bowl. What do you think?
Wow.
Delusion.
Well, now that
Delusion.
he put it in those simple terms that explain everything, I mean,
I get it.
What else do we
close
got?
down flat Earth now. Let's shut down all these
I
servers.
guess
Go
so.
tell them it's over with this one. I mean, it's done deal.
Well, the air would need to be a solid object to be carried along like that. I mean, otherwise, if it's just a force, you wouldn't be able to turn around. So it's like they're kind of trying to imply that the air is a solid object carried around with the solid Earth, and you can't really have that unless there's a barrier or something to put it in a package like a firmament. So they're kind of saying contradictory.
And he's still comparing water and the surface and its reaction to the gas and the surface and its reaction. Within his chamber, he doesn't even need to have the water. He could have little gas emitters there, little smoky things, and all that smoke should like start spinning at the rate of the ball with just air in his little experiment. I'd tell him, get rid of your false equivalents, put little smoky matchsticks with little heaters or something on your spinny ball, and see if the air catches up with your balls. It won't. You're an idiot.
Yeah, when you run through the air in an airplane, you know, unless it's contained, the air is rushing against you and threatening to push you off of the open airplane. So why would we expect the Earth running through space to do anything different with, you know, the air that's above it?
Again, if the plane is moving forward and you're moving towards the cockpit, you have to struggle and use the benches to help move yourself forward against the forward motion of the plane and gaining that energy to move to the cockpit. You turn around, you're resisting being thrown to the back of the plane. You see, it has nothing
I
to
wonder
do.
if he realizes he made an argument against their magical Coriolis effect by making that statement.
And in real life, when you move with the motion of an object or against the motion of an object, you can tell that you're moving because there's a slight difference moving to the front or to the back. They don't even allow that with the Earth.
No, that's why they draw parallels between, say, okay, you're on a bus or you're inside a plane, and then tell you, what about juggling in a plane? That was one I didn't put on my list. Have you ever, how do you think imagine juggling on a plane? Now, that's how the atmosphere works. I mean, just ridiculous stuff. So if this is taking place, what WS says is taking place, it has to be taking place everywhere on the surface of the Earth at all times, right? Because it's a transfer of energy from the ground to the atmosphere in a particular direction, causing the atmosphere to move at exactly the same speed as the ground. Show us this phenomena.
Well, what they're trying to do is destroy the frameworks by which we normally prove stuff consistently and say, drop that framework where, you have to go at a different speed to the front of the bus versus the back of the bus, like on a spinning earth, and just, go with it due to metaphysics. Just kind of drop your disbelief a little bit.
That is the exact right word there. Is disbelief. That's exactly what they want us to do, Lemon. And that's what they have done. And they cannot stand that we won't do the same thing and suspend our disbelief and accept the explanation that they've accepted. I don't know what the resistance to, if this is happening, what is the resistance to providing us with some evidence?
They can't. How can they show deflection on a spinning ball that's traveling 1,000 miles an hour? It should be easy.
Well,
it's
we have
either
a couple
one way or the other. Either we have the Coriolis or we don't. And with that explanation, they don't realize that they just killed the Coriolis. It's over.
Affordable space travel to Antarctica or to the firmament dome is about the only thing that would really do right now. We need to see this ourselves.
There's no way around that. You either have momentum and you have your Coriolis, right? Or it's either spinning with the Earth or it's not. So if it's spinning with the Earth, then you have no Coriolis. Because when you throw your ball, it's going to spin around and it's going to actually spin, right? But that's not what we witness. When we throw something, it travels straight, right? So, I mean, it's simple. I mean, there's no way around that.
And when you start to see similar activity, you start to get suspicious that it's the same thing. Like if I see a lawyer and a pizza delivery guy, and I see both of them arguing competently in court and knowing case law, I'm going to begin to suspect that really underneath all that, they're basically the same substance, the same essence. They're both lawyers, effectively. If I get a Coriolis-like effect in my drain, where the drain is swirling and I get a counter whirl in the water when it's closer to the outer portion, I'm going to start to say maybe we're not moving at all. And at best, you have a substance moving over the Earth with or without the spin of the Earth for a quote-unquote Coriolis. So at that point, they need to justify why we're seeing similar activity with another model, with or without their ball.
Yeah, and we didn't even start with this gas is supposed to be adjacent to the vacuum of space, right? We didn't even touch upon that yet. We're just going kinetics, right?
Just kinetics.
We're just the other fantasy.
We're giving them the rest of it. We're just saying, okay, show us this rotating atmosphere you say you have.
Yeah. And they cannot do it.
They can't do it. It doesn't seem an unreasonable request to me.
Listen, guys, it's so simple. You know that there's Coriolis because you can't detect Coriolis. That's how you know.
It's the same with evolution.
What's that?
I said, Lordy.
It's an indefensible position. The only thing you guys have is gravity. That's all you can say.
We did get a super chat.
They don't have that.
For
$5. They make that up.
They make that up too. Yeah.
We got a super chat for $5 from Why Kick a Moo Cow number 855. Hey guys, just a tip. You should probably start with something a little more simple. Please explain how day and night work on a flat model. Anybody want to take a crack at coming up with some kind of explanation for how day and night work?
Yeah. When the sun is near, there's light. When the sun is far, there's darkness.
That makes no sense.
Never
Come on.
Never thought.
What the fuck kind of crazy explanation is that?
Stop making sense, Travis.
Well, they're thinking about the ball revolving and obstructing the sun beyond when you're on this turning ball. But if you think about a rainbow is a hula hoop that is suspended above the ground. If you get high enough above the ground, you'll see the hoop of the rainbow. But if you're close to the surface, it will look like an arch going above and below the ground. For all intents and purposes, you could treat the sun, moon, and the stars like that hula hoop, revolving above in a hoop, staying above the surface. But if you get too close to the ground, all of a sudden it's going to go above and below the horizon and take its light with it. There's your night and day right there.
Yeah, and we've shown some other phenomena that could be impacting your ability to see the sun when it gets close to the horizon. Obviously, it's going to look lower because of perspective, but there's also atmospheric phenomena that we've cataloged that have the ability to block light. So maybe that's happening at the surface. Still a lot of work to do to figure out exactly what is happening and what the reasons are we're seeing what we're seeing. But unless you can
give a quick shot?
provide some evidence that, you know, we're on this giant spinning ball, such as for this atmospheric model that you have here, then we're going to have to keep looking. Yeah, go ahead, whoever that was.
It was Rob. I know my mic is shit, I know. But the sun is local. It's not 93 million miles away. So that's their claim, that the sun is 90. That's why they don't understand how it can be nighttime here, because they think the sun is 93 million miles away. If it's local, I don't know how far away.
They were
but not 93 million miles away. So when it gets too far away, you can't see it anymore. You can't see its light.
Right before we left Gems earlier, I showed him Eratosthenes working on a flat surface, and they said, no, that's not right, because the sun rays aren't parallel. Which I don't know how they knew they weren't parallel, or how they know they are on Earth.
Well, it does look like the light spreads out from, the source, but I mean, you can get a sun that's no more than 1,600-ish to 3,600-ish miles away when you do, trigonometry. If you do, if you try to figure out how far the sun's traveled in a second, assuming it travels in 360 degrees. You plug it in your calculator as basically 360 degrees divided by 24 hours in a day divided by 60 minutes in an hour divided by 60 seconds in a minute. And it gives you like 0.0002 or something like that. And that gives you a leg of your triangle that you can use to solve. You take the tangent of that, and that the tangent of whatever that small angle is for 1 second would equal X, the thing that you're trying to find, divided by however far it travels on the bottom leg of that triangle in 1 second. To find how far it travels in a second, like at the equator, it would be 24,901 divided by all that stuff, divided by 24, divided by 60, divided by 60. And when you do that, you get a sun that's no more than 1,600 to 3,600 miles right there.
Lemon, let me ask you, if you were to triangulate the sun, and say you were to triangulate the moon, right? You would come up with a certain number. Let's say you did the sun after that. You do the sun and the moon. Would the numbers be different, or would it be the same?
They would probably be about the same size, since they appear to be, the same distance, since they have similar activity and appear to be the same size. The only difference is the moon size changes much more dramatically, which kind of implies that it's closer.
Yeah, we got another super chat as a follow-up from Why Kick a Moo Cow, number 855. Exactly. You can't even explain night and day, and you're trying to debunk physics. Well, I would say we're not trying to debunk physics, and I don't know why you say that we can't explain day and night. When the sun is near you, it's day. When the sun is on the other side of Earth, it's night. When it's far away from you, it's night. So you've got this picture in your mind. They're right. That includes this sun that's shining on a rotating ball from 93 million miles away. You've got to change that into a close local sun circling above the Earth.
This is a huge problem, because for flat Earth, they want to keep their model of how the sky works.
Yeah.
But just thinking about parallel lines, all you do, you've got the moon phase in the sky during the day, right? And you can see that maybe it's a quarter moon, like half the moon's lit. And then you can hold a basketball up there between you and it and see that the basketball has the same shadow. That's an easy indicator that the light rays are parallel.
Yeah, except it doesn't always match up the same, Howard.
Oh, it's done it every time I've tried it, because I've always that doesn't look right, and then I hold the ball up and I'm like, well, yeah, it is. you know.
Yeah, I've got photos where I hold up a baseball and line it up with the moon, and they're not the same. So it's
Oh,
I'm
okay.
just telling you. I'm just telling you that.
Oh, okay. I'm developed.
Well, you
And
are.
also, you can get parallel lines also from a medium that is illuminated and shining up with its own activity that is universally distributed, giving you an even coverage of light without light rays traveling. Like
Yep.
I think of the idea of light being rays that travel being so ridiculous. It's like the disco ball. The disco ball has these light rays that just emanate from it, from its facets. And it would be like eventually you'd have spots of no coverage where the light reaches, but there's like the shadow zone between the rays of light. That can't be accurate to give you a full coverage of illumination in any area. There has to be a medium that is illuminating itself and induced to shine.
Someone was claiming you could explain night and day, and you can't. If the sun was to go further away, it will get smaller. It doesn't. Therefore, that explanation is wrong. Also,
That's incorrect.
hold on, let me finish. And the other
You
point is that we see the sun go below. I'm in the God damn it! I'm in the middle of a bloody sentence. And if we see the sun goes below the horizon, and that cannot happen on a flat Earth where the sun is supposed to be 3,000 miles up all the time. No matter how far it goes away, it can't go below the horizon, and we can see the sun disappear below the horizon. What's more, nearly finished. And what's more, when it goes below the horizon, we can actually go upwards. And we can see, oh, look, there it is. It's gone below the horizon. So we can see that it's gone below the horizon. There we go, finished.
Oh, Brian, I think
Brandon, since Rumpus is
video pebbles in the pond, they said that you can't make light disappear over a flat Earth, right?
They did, and I've got that on screen right now. Here, let me share that for Rumpus in case he has forgotten what that looks like. I don't know if you have seen this, Rumpus, but
this is the garage video.
Yeah.
So the Inferior Mirage thing, which I explained.
So this is This is flat, and we see the light disappear.
Yeah, it's an Inferior Mirage. Yeah. Well, the problem is that this only accounts for we see Inferior Mirages in real life. They only account for a very tiny proportion of what's missing. So, for instance, if you're looking at a big wind turbine or a mountain that's several thousand feet high, it'll only account for a very, very tiny little angular size of what's missing. It doesn't account for all the rest that's missing. So this is a complete side issue.
No, absolutely not.
Stop it, Travis. Let me finish.
You are
Travis, you've got to turn
Don't gish Gallop then, Rumpus. Don't gish Gallop.
I was nearly there, and then
we're not talking about what an Inferior Mirage does. We're talking about the light.
I'm still in the middle.
That is extinguished.
I'm still in the middle of a sentence.
You're not even addressing the point.
I'm still in the middle of a sentence. So the example you're showing in the garage is an example of an Inferior Mirage, which is very small. We see it in real life, and we know it's a small effect and does not account for the missing parts of objects which are missing huge portions of them, not tiny little bits. Go ahead.
Okay, first of all, that doesn't address the extinguishing of the light. That was the point. We're not talking about... Okay, Rumpus.
It explains what you're offering in the garage. Hold on, we were talking about the garage, and I was explaining a separate thing about the fact the sun goes below the horizon.
A separate, irrelevant thing.
Hold on. You brought up the garage, which is relevant, not me. I was talking about. Hold on. I was talking about why the sun disappears. It should get smaller. It doesn't. It goes below the horizon, which it can't do. And then you brought up the issue of the garage, which I then had to explain as well.
No. You did. Okay, listen very carefully. Then the garage has a level floor, above which is the light. So there is no physical obstruction to extinguish the light, and yet the light extinguishes. That is due 100% to the medium.
Yes, due to the Inferior Mirage. Yeah, but we're missing great portions. No, we're missing great portions of the sun.
That is irrelevant.
No, it's not. The initial point I was making was that the Inferior Mirage, the little bit that's missing, is very, very small. So this is an irrelevant phenomenon.
This is irrelevant. We're not... Okay, listen.
This is irrelevant. The garage is irrelevant because it's so small. The effect is very tiny.
Rumpus.
No, I'm not being able to get a sense out. The effect.
Rumpus.
No, I'm trying to make the point.
Shut up.
I'm being told that this is a relevant effect in comparison to what we see in the phenomenon.
Go ahead,
in
Travis.
Real life.
Be quiet.
Okay, we're not talking about the acute angle of an Inferior Mirage at the base of an object. We're not even talking about the inferior mirage as the obstruction. We're simply describing the fact that the medium itself is extinguishing the light. It's got nothing to do with whether or not it's an inferior mirage.
It is an inferior mirage. That's how
it has nothing to do with the fact that it's an inferior mirage.
Yes, it does, because that's the cause of the that's where the medium is
said it was
causing
impossible, bro.
and
You
it
said it was
only
impossible.
obscures a tiny angular size. It does not account for the vast amounts of objects that are missing below the horizon.
I believe I heard you say on Jose's show that this layer of air that can contain the inferior mirage is what was it, 5 to 15 meters? Is that right?
Yeah, it can be quite small, but it goes up to, normally it can go up to about 15 meters, 10, 15 meters. That's the maximum that this layer of inverted, well, this height, very steep gradient can go up. Above that, obviously you can, obviously if you go on top of have a mountain, so it's above the level of the ground that it's on. So you can obviously be in a mountain that's 10,000 feet high and then have it being warmed up by the sun, and then you would get, 10, 15 meters above that. So it's above the surface that's being heated dramatically by the sun. You can get this gradient, this severe gradient that goes up to about 10, 15 meters. But normally it's nearer, more significant in the lower 5 to 10.
Okay.
Rumpus, as long as we can see the horizon, we can see inferior mirages. And you just said it's impossible for a light to extinguish if it's still in direct vision. You just said that right before you brought up the mirage.
You're going to have to repeat yourself, Brian. You're very difficult to hear.
Sorry, you just said it was impossible. You said the sun setting is impossible. Okay, we're showing you a light extinguishing over a medium, so you would have to at least agree that mirages are scalable. So
right,
the horizon disappears at a certain. Hold on, man. The light disappears at a certain. I mean, the horizon. You can't make out the horizon at a certain height.
We can see how much is an inferior. Right, so when we see a sun go over the horizon, we can see the bit that's caused the inferior mirage bit that's obscuring it. We can see how big that is. We can see that's a small proportion, and then we can see the sun descend into it. Sometimes, of course, there aren't inferior mirage, but most of the time there are. And we can see the sun going down and down and down. We can see the size of the inferior mirage is too small to account for the size of the sun that's missing. So we'll see, the little inferior mirage will be, 1/10 the size of the sun, and then the sun will go down, and it'll be obscuring that little 10th bit, but the sun will still go down and disappear.
Okay, Rumpus, you are conflating and ignoring certain variables, okay? The sun, hold on. Okay, listen very carefully. The sun is moving into the distance, okay? So it's Rumpus, okay? You got to express your point of view. Okay?
Yeah, you interrupted me. Do you remember that? Now you
not
see
just
it's annoying.
okay,
it's
not
annoying,
just now.
Yeah,
Rumpus, I don't believe. I believe that in this instance, I waited for you to finish.
You did. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. The point is, regardless of whether or not it's an inferior mirage, because again, you stated sometimes there are not. So that's not the point. The point is that the medium, in whatever fashion, if it's an inferior mirage or not, the medium, through refraction, extinguishes the light as it moves away. That is our answer, Rumpus. That's our answer.
Yes, and you didn't listen to my response to that, and I'll say it again. The angular size of the inferior mirage is small. We can see
that is a tertiary issue.
You interrupted me. No, it's not, because the size of the inferior mirage, we can see the size of the sun. It's much bigger than the inferior mirage. Therefore, the inferior mirage cannot block all of the sun. It only blocks a tiny part of it. And you're claiming, in effect,
the sun doesn't disappear all at once.
You're claiming it's responsible for obscuring all of the sun, and it clearly isn't.
Okay, the problem with this discussion right now, Rumpus, is that we do not, and we are not looking at tangible or visual demonstrations. Okay, so you are giving a description of something that you are critiquing.
Okay, let's get a picture of a sun with an inferior mirage on it.
Okay, listen very carefully. I'm going to say it again.
You bring it up. I mean, you're the one making the claim that the sun is being obscured by some refraction. Give us a demonstration. Produce an image in which the inferior mirage will always be that is obscuring all of the sun, and you won't be able to find it because you'll see where the sun will be dipping much below the horizon. You cannot use the inferior mirage to obscure all of the sun. It doesn't happen.
Okay, Rumpus, again. Early on in your Gish Gallop, You stated that there are times when there is no inferior mirage. Okay, so that then takes the inferior mirage as an exclusive variable out of the equation. That's not the point. It's not the point.
Well, without an inferior mirage, the sun isn't obscured at all by refraction. It's just obscured by the curvature of the Earth. Your whole argument with this garage example... Let me finish, Brian. The whole point of this garage example is to demonstrate that an inferior mirage, which is what we see, can obscure a little bit, a little angle of distant objects. But the thing is, the sun is much bigger than the size that the inferior mirage you can gather in this demonstration, although, but it's good enough to say, to make the point, that if you think of those blocks we could still see the top of the blocks in that demo, and if the blocks descended further and further and further and disappeared below completely, when we knew they were much bigger than the size of the inferior mirage, therefore you need to dig a hole in the garage to obscure them. So we know that the sun is going below the horizon. The inferior mirage, the refraction effect, is too small to account for obscuring all of the sun. And what's more, we know that if we go up in a building, taller building, so we see a sunset, and then we go up, say, 500 meters, like you can do in the Al Khalifa Hotel, you can see that the sun has gone below the horizon. You can then look, oh, look down there, it is, it's down there. It was obscured by the horizon.
Well, the thing is, you're hinging a lot of this on the maintenance of the size of the object that you interpret as the object going below something because the sun doesn't disappear down to a dot. That appears to be a little off. If you hold a sheet of paper at the level of the eyes, it'll look very thin, just like the horizon line, to illustrate how the horizon line looks thin. But if you raise up the sheet of paper, it takes on breadth, depth, and thickness, and everything in that thin zone of vision will open up like that sheet of paper, and you'll see it for longer in a higher plane. So this idea that you have that the object's going to maintain angular size when it approaches the horizon is a little off because it appears that everything will converge.
Why are you interrupting right now, Rumpus? Shut the fuck up. That's how we feel about you when you talk.
And you're listening to it. It's just unbelievable.
Even you. Feel about you when you talk. So shut the fuck up.
You're a science denier. That's the problem.
I have Rumpus muted, so I'm just going to finish my point. When something's in a higher plane of vision, it appears to maintain its angular size a bit more than it does at the level of the eyes, where it seems to converge, merge, and disappear sooner. And so this idea that you have that it's going to maintain its angular size so much that it would only disappear down to a dot is a little off.
Well, let's watch a sunset together. I'm sharing on my screen here. Let me make sure that I'm sharing.
Where did I say the sunset would go down to a dot? He's saying exactly what the flatties do. He's saying exactly the opposite of what I'm saying. This guy's a moron of the first order.
Okay, there's no reason for you to call him a moron. There really
he is a moron. It's the elephant.
Are you capable of like behaving yourself and acting like a normal human being for a conversation?
I'm just going to mute you.
When someone spouts complete and utter rubbish,
that's
even you must
feel about you when you talk.
Yeah, but that's because you don't understand science. I mean, he said, for instance, just now that
Rumpus, shut the fuck up for a minute, okay?
When did I say the sun went down to a dot? He claimed I met.
Look at my screen.
Okay, I'll do that. He claimed I said the sun went down to a dot. Honestly, what a moron.
Let's figure out what's going on here together.
Okay.
All right. Now watch this sunset here. The sun is going down towards the horizon. It's a strange shape that it's taking. What exactly is happening here?
Right, we just have this is probably closer to a Fata Morgana than which of course you do get. I mean, we know that mirages happen, but this is closer to a Fata Morgana. So we've got multiple layers going on here. So normally you just get the bit where the bottom of the sun flares out. That's a normal standard inferior mirage. So here we've got clearly another layer, and that's obviously indicated by the black cloud. We can see there's a layer of temperature change there. And we know, I mean, if you must have seen pictures of Fata Morganas, I can provide them now if you need them, where you do get layers of different effects, and that's what's happening here. But you can clearly see the sun is bigger than the refraction layer effect. So therefore, the refraction effect is not obscuring and not capable of obscuring all the size of the sun. If we were to draw a circle,
I have a question real quick. I have a question.
You are scalloping. Stop. You're scalloping.
You're already there.
You're scalloping. You're there like 5 times.
You're already there.
You're there.
If you were to draw a circle the size of the sun, if you draw a circle the size of that...
That's enough. Okay, so we'll address it without you, Rumpus. Thank you for getting our blood pressure going this evening. Much appreciated. And
thank you, Brandon.
Yeah, man. I wish y'all give me one-on-one with him for a minute. But I finished my video. I'm uploading it now. It's probably gonna take 10 years. But yeah, I wasn't happy with the way I was making sense of all that. Trying to explain it, but I got the video and I added a few things. It's only about 12 minutes long, and it should be available for people to watch. And it explains, okay? It shows their old look at light and how it was wrong and how they admittedly, okay? I was going to ask Rumpus, well, I don't even want to hint him around to it because then he's going to know next time I do ask him. But I was going to ask him if he understood the updated science and how they were wrong, how they just guessed the equation. They just guessed the math to fit reality, and they admitted it. And I think that they might have even got caught or somebody doing it was honest, but I believe they did that with basically all the laws. They looked at reality and retrofitted the math to it, if you ask me. But yeah, my video goes more into detail about the sunsets, about the eclipses, points out how they don't work on a globe model, and how we need to update science based on reality, based on things that weren't figured into the Model 100. So everybody gets it when y'all get a chance, or either tomorrow maybe you could show it if you find a way to get volume. It's pretty cool.
So regarding what Rumpus said about the sun going behind a mirage, that wasn't really my intention to say that the sun is always going behind a mirage, and that what is happening in the garage video is what's happening in reality. That is just an example of how the atmosphere can block a light from being seen, or why couldn't that happen with the sun? I don't know, but why couldn't it happen a different way too? Not just a mirage.
He just claimed it was impossible. He brought that up because he just claimed that it was impossible for a light to disappear when you have a direct view to it. He just claimed that. He just forgets that. He's an idiot.
And the thing is, I can show with a sheet of paper that if something's in the higher visual plane, it's going to maintain angular size longer because it's going to take on breadth, depth, and thickness. You know, the sheet of paper at eye level is thin and, like the horizon line. But if you raise it higher, it appears to be longer and appear to maintain angular size for much longer, like the sun. So if something's in the higher visual plane, it appears to maintain angular size, much more.
Well, I'm looking at this video too. When is it that we're seeing the actual sun in this video? Is it in the beginning? Is this the actual sun? Are we looking at the actual sun?
Yeah.
Here?
So let me just jump in real quick because that was going to be my question to Rumpus because he called it a Fata Morgana, but a Fata Morgana is a variable of a superior mirage, which means that the mirage is above the physical object. So he would have to say that the image that's on top is miraging the physical image below. He have to because that's what a Fata Morgana is.
Yeah, I'm just looking through this and I'm like, where is the actual sun? And that's one thing Ranty used to always talk about too, is the sun. What was it called? The sun. I forgot. Sun glare.
Glare set. Yeah.
Glare set. And that's what it looks like to me in here. Especially, I don't even see the actual sun, but we see all different kinds of sunsets. It's not like we see one particular kind of sunset that happens all the time. Over water, sometimes we see this kind of sunset. We've got ones where it literally looks like it just fades out into nothingness.
I've seen one where the sun splits.
We see magnification.
What's that, Brian?
No, I say we see magnification a lot of the time, especially in like deserts or coastline, or in the deserts mainly. Man, you see magnification, and they call like the moon doing that an optical illusion. But to me, it's not an optical illusion. But when you're comparing something that far away and that little bit of size, if you hold your finger up, yeah, it might be the same, but a smidget of that finger is going to vary a lot. And when you're talking distances like that, degrees.
Well, they say you need to put a solar filter on, and it's not being magnified. But if we have an object being magnified, then it's getting magnified. Like, well, I don't understand what the debate's about. They deny what we see half the time. We'll be looking at the same thing, and it's like they act like they don't see what we're seeing.
And also, they're fitting in a philosophical presumption that the true size of the sun is revealed with the solar filter. Without knowing what exactly glare is or the source of the glare, that's not a justified, presumption to even fit in there. So they're kind of begging the question and elbowing in a philosophical assumption of how they think, even light works, or how, the sun is, shaped or what size it is. What if the solar filter is cutting out arbitrary portions of light that we're deeming glare? Whatever the hell that is.
Yeah, all good points. But yeah, I mean, we're not looking at the real sun. We're not seeing the real sun. We've got so much. Think about how much atmosphere between us and where the sun is as it moves over the earth. I mean, that you're looking at a ton, especially when it gets lower. The angle and the amount of atmosphere that you're looking through maximizes at that point. Now, what happens to that light as it travels through the atmosphere from where the sun is to you? We've talked about this many times.
Exactly. I want to say something. They're not acknowledging that without zoom.
The sun follows the same rules as perspective, irregardless.
Okay. Hold on, Jimbo.
Refraction. Let's say a boat. Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
Okay, without the zoom, we're not seeing refraction anyways. Rarely. Okay? We have to zoom in on these ships or these boats way off in the distance to see the refraction. Okay? So this ain't something, not something we see with our naked eye. And once you zoom in, okay, the objects are a certain size. They vary radically in shape and size, compared to how big they are. But so that you're looking at the sun, and there's more ways than we could probably ever imagine that it could get refracted over that long of a distance. And you figure if the trigonometry is even close, then the angle it would be at a long distance would, it would be so cold that once the light quit reaching us, okay, it's the same thing they'd say with a laser beam. Like they'd say you'd see it forever, right? Okay, well, let's say the sun is like that, and we can see it forever, okay? Then it's not going to disappear until the light or the medium affects it enough to make it disappear. Just like in the floor, the light on the floor. Rumpus said it was impossible for a light that you have a direct angle to disappear, and you had it up on the damn screen. I mean, just let him talk. That's why I like having Rumpus on, man. He gives me more material. Just the more we let him talk.
Well, the thing is, 2D objects, like the paper that I was referencing, don't. The paper itself is a really thin 3D object. So these layers of air that we're looking at, we're tempted to reify the planar, treatment of light like it's refracting off of a mirror layer. But it may be a thick layer with thickness that's really, really thin. And so it can open up or close. It can thicken. It can be like the ether band that A Plain Truth was talking about. And so this reified, abstraction that it's reflecting off of a layer may be valid too, but it may also be a thick layer of air that can present an image to your eyes or close off the image to the eyes too. So we really need to look at these philosophical notions of how we think light, behaves and travels as it goes through these media.
Yeah. I think Brian made a really good point, which was he said that it was impossible for the sun to essentially disappear, go behind a horizon when you're looking directly at it. And that video, Pebbles in the Pond, shout out Pebble, video does show it disappearing right in front of our eyes. So we've got one refractive phenomena, we'll call it refractive, I don't know what better name for it is, that we can see and that we can create experimentally that will completely hide a light. Who knows what else is going on between us and the sun? We know, thanks to Travis and other people's work, that there's a lot of different phenomenon and effects that we see in the atmosphere over long distances. That's just one of them.
So, yeah. So the way that we could placate Rumpus's complaint is to eliminate everything in Pebbles' observation except for the light. So just put the light up 2 centimeters up off the ground and just have the light, and then do it again. Because that's my point in my videos, is that, for instance, if we see an oil platform that is in an inferior mirage, but there's nothing to the right or to the left except for sky, we simply think that, or at least I did, I'll say it that way, I used to think that the only place that the mirage was happening was at the oil platform. But there's still the same refractive distortion or index to the right and to the left. So if that oil platform could move laterally, it would still be moving through refraction. Okay? So there's always refraction there. It just depends on what angle that object is going to be in. So, for instance, the light that disappeared for Pebbles at that point, that light wasn't in an inferior mirage. So, at the elevation that light was, the extinction happened because of the refraction at that elevation.
Yeah, and I'm showing the video on screen right now of the different types of horizons from deep inside the rabbit hole, and you just see, or the types of horizons, types of sunsets. You see, there's a whole bunch of different ways this presents itself to us. It's not just one thing, and they'll have you believe that we see the same thing every time, or that it always looks the same. That's just not the case. He's got a bunch in here. Cloud horizons. He's got the sun just disappearing into nothingness, going behind mountains. I mean, there's a ton of different ways that we see the sun. Like this one right here. This one's really interesting. It just kind of blinks into nothingness. And that goes back to what Ranty always said about seeing the sun glare. You're not seeing the actual sun. You're just seeing the result of it through the atmosphere at that long distance. So anyway, anybody got any other thoughts on that? I wish Rumpus would chill.
Rumpus is a stupid head.
I wish he would chill the hell out, man.
You know how it is with the class-driven British. They have to put you in your place. It is what it is. Thank God we left Britain 300 years ago.
Just mute his ass, man. And wait till he starts getting too obnoxious, calling too many names before you kick him. You think he'd learn. But if he gets out of line, mute him. We've all been muted, man. We all get there sometimes. Just gets there a little often, man. I'd say I ain't far behind.
No, I think he tries to do it on purpose to get muted. I don't know what he thinks he's accomplishing there besides disrupting the show. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he gets off on just disrupting us. I don't get it.
Hey, and
I think it's so that
can y'all hear me? I'm in a...
Yeah.
Sorry,
I was just going to say, I think it's so he can go then to his other places and be like, oh, look, they couldn't even let me talk. That's all. And that way he looks like he wins.
I wanted to say, if you can hear me, I'm in a spot. I just got a new antenna, or a new, I got the new Wi-Fi, and I was wondering, this spot, usually I robot out. Can y'all hear me right now?
Yeah, I don't think you've roboted once tonight yet.
Well, that is amazing. Maybe I've fixed the problem. But Rumpus, if you're listening, go watch the video on Flat Earth Test that I made about you, and be bored about it, buddy. But maybe you will something, self-reflect. But to anybody else who hasn't seen the video, or if Rumpus don't want to watch it, it's about, he's great, probably algebra, geometry, all this stuff. It's what he does, obviously, okay? But his not good at free thinking, common sense. This video points out how the whole damn panel and everybody watching understands things. He's talking about. I'll make it brief. They're talking about the Brian. I forgot his last name, but shout out to him. He's toying with Rumpus, talking about a plane going from South America or the equator to the North Pole.
Brian Mabbitt.
And he's trying to say, yeah, there you go. Shout out to him. And he's stating, how we're saying 500 miles an hour. It's 12 hours. So Brian's trying to get him to imagine it 1 in 6 hours. He's like so let's go from South America to the North Pole. He changes it from the equator to the South Pole. He's just trying to give a specific spot. Okay, everybody caught that, but except Rumpus. Okay, and he's like, no, he's like the South Pole to the North Pole, or the South America to the North Pole. No, that's like almost twice the distance. And I'm like, oh my God! First off, twice the distance from the equator to the North Pole would be the freaking South Pole, for starters, But Brian's like, so we're going to do it in 6 hours. And he's just trying to give an imaginary, a workshop to go through, a little thought process. And Rumpus is like, no way. There's no way. You couldn't get there. You couldn't get from the equator to the North Pole in 6 hours. He's like, it would take a rocket. And a rocket would barely even do it in 6 hours. And I'm thinking, now, and Brian laughs at him a little bit and chuckles. And the whole audience, once again in the panel, knows that if from 12 hours to 6 hours is just a difference from 500 miles an hour to 1,000 miles an hour. And he is not thinking like that. See, the way he has to think is in terms of velocity, okay? So he has to break shit down into meters per second. So he doesn't and he thinks everybody thinks like that, right? He thinks everybody thinks so deep like him in like meters per second where you don't have a common understanding of just the general outlay of the situation. So he thinks if he can barely understand it, then nobody can understand it. So he puts himself up on this pedestal when everybody else ain't thinking about velocity and all this shit, meters per second. They're just thinking 500 miles an hour, 12,000 miles, 6,000 miles, 12 hours, right? That's just what the common layman is thinking. But he doesn't think like that. And the whole time, it lasted for about probably 20 minutes, he did not understand. And he finally figures out that, and Brian lets him off the hook. I would have grilled him, dude, but Brian lets him off the hook, and he finally realizes that a blackbird going 2,000 miles an hour, he finally realizes that it's going to make it there in less than 3 hours. It would make it, in fact, from the South Pole to the North Pole in less than 6 hours, much less a rocket barely making it in 6 hours from the equator to the North Pole. So he doesn't know where the equator runs in real life. He doesn't understand just common math. He's good at math. I'll give you that, Rob. Okay, good at equations and solving for X and shit like that. And but common sense, not a lick. That's all I had to say about that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
One of these tactics that these guys like to use a lot, and you'll hear it, is ask you a math question. Somebody did that to me earlier. They wanted me to tell them the circumference of 2 different circles. And if you don't do it on the spot, then they say, oh, flat earthers can't do math. And like that proves their point. It's just more obfuscation. But
all you got to do is tell them to hold on and look up the equation. They just have a list of equations right in front of them, or they have them memorized. It's not genius level shit, dude. I mean, it requires a certain kind of intelligence, but where you have that, you lack in other areas, man. And you're good at math. I mean, that common understanding, you're way better at that than them, dude.
Well, math is only justified if you have units that are unchanging. When you're looking at units of vision, say looking out over a space, the units of vision appear to converge, merge, and disappear. So you don't have constant enough units to really justify the math. Now you can use certain equations to try to, model what you think is happening, but at that point you're just applying numbers to what you think is going on. You still need to explain the philosophy behind what you think is happening. And so the philosophy of light that doesn't include angular resolution with the top and bottom half of your vision smashing into a horizon line, at that point you can't even talk about refraction. You need to, talk about the visual zones that are smashing together and merging.
Well, the problem I have with this little pop quiz math stuff is your equations, any equation you use, any math you do, is only as good as the assumptions that you have built into the variables you're using in your equations. So when you're trying to speak conceptually about something and somebody says, well, let's do the math, or here's a math problem, this is why I'm correct, it's just an obfuscation point. But you're right, Brian, none of it is that difficult. You can do an internet search and find the equation they're talking about. For most of this stuff, there's calculators out there, like we saw with.
Then you just gotta, after that, and if you don't use the internet, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's really easy stuff.
If you don't use the, the calculators offered, which I've pretty much gotten so used to them, dude. But it's like you just look up what their symbols mean. Like, so pi, what is it? 3.14. Okay. So then look up the equation for the circle. 2r times pi, or pi 2r, or something like that. Or pi times d, or 2d. Just look up exactly what it is they're asking, and figure out what the symbol is. If you don't, I know you know what pi is, but if it's another symbol that you don't know, or I don't, or whoever is doing it, look it up, and it tells you. And then that's it. It's set rules. It's not nothing that anybody couldn't study and understand. That it makes them feel superior. It makes them feel superior because they lack. There's probably a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them lost a lot of lunch money growing up and shit, man. And for lack of common sense and shit, man.
And they think that these math problems justify the philosophy. No, you have the philosophy first, then you apply math to it. Math is like the puzzle piece. It's like putting a puzzle together. You still need to have the pieces there. The math isn't anything without the philosophy. And so it's kind of backward to just try to apply these, formulas and say, oh, they work out and give me this value that I'm expecting. Therefore, it's, correct. That's mathematical, positivism or whatever. That math itself reflects reality.
Agreed. And it makes them feel superior, you see. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've met a couple men who couldn't even read. It took me forever to even figure out they couldn't read because they had so much fucking, common sense, dude. They could read a person like a book, dude. I'm talking about they seen situation. One of them was my buddy a long time ago, and he could read a situation better than anybody. Everybody's got different sets of skills. Math just happens to be one that you can learn. There are other skills that you can't teach. I've said that before. You can't. Certain shit you can't teach, man. And math just ain't one of them. If somebody wants to learn math, but it makes them feel high and mighty because they know something you don't, and it makes them feel intelligent. And where they've probably caught abuse in the past, it makes them feel, superior. So they're going to throw that at you as long as you let them.
The math only works if you have all the pieces. If you go the other way and, go in the bad direction with math, you may not have all the pieces, and you may try to evenly divide all the pieces as if you have everything that's there. But that's not rightly dividing stuff. And so you still have to double check with reality.
Yeah, anything past geometry is philosophy almost, if you want to look at it. There's some algebra, but and calculus, but I ain't all that good at that shit. I understand trig. I'm probably slower than most with it, but I understand it, and I know we all understand angles, okay, and what it means. Okay, we might have to look up how many arc seconds are in a degree and shit. Once we looked it up, we understand it. It's that simple. It's not. It's I don't know. I'm baffled the way they. I don't know. I think they're trying to just feel superior. That's the best I can come up with there, man.
Well, you can simplify a lot of this. You can simplify a lot of this stuff, like the the tangent of 0.02 degrees basically just says you take, the 60 degrees of vision that we see through for the top part of our vision and the bottom part of our vision, 60 degrees for each half, and divided by 0.02, you get 3,000 pieces. So you just have a fraction where, the fraction of that angle is 0.02, or the sides across from that angle and extending right next to that angle is a fraction of 0.02, which basically gives you 1 over 3,000. And so basically, if you make that 1 over 3,000, it's the same fraction as whatever you're looking at, like your size of 6 feet would be the 1 in this fraction on the other side of the equal sign, over 1 over 3,000 equals 6 over x. And that gives you basically 6 times 3,000. gives you the distance to which it would vanish at 0.02. So you just multiply the height of an object times 3,000 to see when it would tend to vanish at 0.02 degrees angular resolution. It's pretty simple.
That's awesome, man. You're good at math too, man. I just remember my trig teacher.
30 is 1. The sine of 30 is 1. And geometry teacher.
The sine, opposite over hypotenuse. Yes. Got to divide that triangle into 3 sides. The hypotenuse is special, keep it to the side, and then the other 2 sides you got to deal with is the side across from the angle and the side adjacent to the angle, kind of to the side.
All right. I've got something for us to look at, change gears here a little bit. There was an article that popped up because I searched the internet for flat earth news.
Damn.
You guys hear me all right?
Oh.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. It was Brian roboting. Gotcha. Flat earthers attempt to sail to the edge of the world ends in massive disappointment. Yeah. So what do you guys think these people that supposedly sailed to the edge of the world were doing? Anybody want to venture a guess as to where they were going?
Antarctica?
That would be a good guess, and that's what I thought, but that is not what happened. So this is just a straight up hit piece, but I'll read it to you. If the earth was flat, it would be incredibly easy to prove. That's the first sentence of the article. I guess it is incredibly easy to prove if you...
Where is this article from?
Well, this happened to be in IFL Science. I don't know. It's some online science thing, but it was all over the place. If you search for it, you'll find a bunch of different outlets were reporting this story. So it's probably one of those that, you know, somebody did a blog and it got picked up by a bunch of people. If the earth was flat, it would be incredibly easy to prove. For instance, you could go to any seashore and looking at a boat sailing far out in the distance and not dipping over the horizon, or ask any of the astronauts on board the ISS to just take a quick photo of the flat circle below as a favor. Why didn't we think of either of those, huh? So far, not a single flat earther has been able to find any proof, which should tell you something about whether the theory has merit, even if you discount all the evidence that the earth is indeed round as a global conspiracy that only YouTuber blah 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 has seen through. Oh, you guys see what kind of point of view this author is coming from, obviously. Oh, can you guys hear me still?
Yeah, I hear you perfect. I was going to say the first 2 things they said is the reason I'm dug into flat earth is because of the lack of number 1 and number 2. So they obviously haven't looked even at all into the pictures offered to us from the ISS and the pictures of the globe and the restrictions of Antarctica and shit, you know. So obviously you're talking to base level people just trying ridicule. That's all. That's their best line of defense is ridicule. It'll work for a while, you know, but there's just too many people around each and every one of us who are going to be around people around each and every one of them, and it's no holding it back, man. I don't think it's going to end bad. It's just a paradigm shift. We're learning more. Science is progressing, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, go ahead, Lemon.
I think they're thinking of what they think the flat earth would function as, but we had to learn new paradigms even from this flat earth thing. I used to ask, how would perspective work over a flat plane and why do objects disappear bottom up? And, you know, Life is Short's video, you know, just opens up your mind with this sort of stuff. But you were saying?
Yeah, no, Life is Short. He had some great stuff. That's great videos, get you thinking in different ways. I agree with you 100%. No, I was just going to continue reading. Despite Italy's lockdown, a couple from Venice recently set out to prove Earth's flatness once and for all by sailing to the edge of the world. Now, this is where the confusing part comes in, which they believed to be somewhere near Sicily. It's amazing how people who live locally never visit famous tourist attractions like the Leaning Tower of Pisa or the edge of the Earth where the sea meets the infinite void. So more ridicule. But I don't understand this. This is just a straight up hit job. These people thought they were sailing to the edge of the world and they were it was by Sicily. Does that make any sense to anybody?
Not really.
Yeah, I don't get that one. The two left the
Okay, so just read that part again that leads up to the Sicily part. Just read that one more time.
All right. Despite Italy's lockdown, a couple from Venice recently set out to prove Earth's flatness once and for all by sailing to the edge of the world, which they believe to be somewhere near Sicily. Yeah, I don't know. The two left Veneto during the lockdown, violating all restrictions. They sold their car and bought a boat. For them, an island of the Italian Pelagi Islands in the Mediterranean Sea was the end of the Earth. Has anybody heard any kind of flat Earth theory where the end of the Earth is in the Mediterranean Sea, or have any clue what these people or this author could be misconstruing about what these people think?
I think it's clickbait. I think they're just, having a catchy title, but the substance isn't quite what you expect it to be.
Well, the name Mediterranean means the center of, the plane or the earth from its very definition. But that would be the center, not the edge.
Yeah.
It's just part, they're desperate. Come on. Even if it was true that there was a couple of insane people that actually did that, it's so vague. This is like a Reader's Digest report. It should be Mr. and Mrs. Calabrese. They shouldn't mind having their names out there. This is like, a story about a doctor who lives on a dirt road near a cornfield in Iowa.
It is that bad. Yeah.
How's it different?
It is pretty
Reader's
bad.
Digest stuff.
That's why I was surprised it was picked up by so many outlets. This is just absolute junk, but
it's all one outlet. You've seen where they do the news, and the Easter Bunny lost a little hop in its step, and and 100 radio news anchors will be putting their little twist on that same little phrase from all the different networks. They're reading off the same teleprompter, the same telex machine. There is no independence in the news. It's a monopoly.
Yeah, there's been who is that? I think it's Helen Degenerates, who's in our chat all the time, has been putting out some videos where it shows the people in the news just repeating the same thing over and over and over again.
And from different networks, and they're supposed to be independent.
Right. They're doing it right now about the lockdowns. They're saying, light at the end of the tunnel. They're using that term now. Before they were doing the new normal. So they've definitely got the NLP on full blast as usual.
Well, these articles kind of give you, very subtle social cues. Do you treat this seriously as a topic or as, something like a whimsical joke? Like, the flat earth is so ridiculous, but, there's 501 genders or whatever. So the messages given by some of these articles are very subtle, but very effective propaganda in some ways.
It's a continuation of what they used to tell us in school that, show us the picture of a flat earth with a boat sailing off the edge and, oh, that's so funny. How could people be so stupid? It's just a continuation of that.
And the Epicurean void, it was a Greek construction. They thought about matter being pulled from the void and they had this void vacuum. So that's kind of the school that they come from, Greek logic and thought. If you're going with, another cosmology or something biblical, the idea of a void is a little philosophical.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so yeah, not much there, but I thought you guys would find that interesting. How they're talking about flat Earth. There was another story that
I'm a hero. I'm an essential worker, man. So I'm a hero. So I can't join in with y'all on that conversation, man. I'm gonna keep my image because I'm a hero, man. I'm necessary. And shout out to the front run, the people in the hospitals and all that. They consider essential worker. If they're considering me a hero, they're not doing something right. I mean, I'm good at what I do and all that, but I
think I saw you dancing in one of those TikTok videos.
Something ain't right.
Yeah, Brian, you should do one of those videos. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Lemon.
I think I saw you dancing in one of those TikTok videos, man. You were looking really, really brave there. Yeah.
No, man, I build shit. I have to, I fix shit and build shit. I do repairs. I've repaired hospitals, sidewalks, like emergency. They called me and just spur of the moment had to do stuff for insurance purposes so people didn't get hurt at hospitals and things like that. But, construction workers are considered heroes, frontline, essential business, whatever you want to call it, heroes. But when I'm considered a hero in society, man, I don't think something ain't quite right, man. I don't know. That's up to the listener.
Well, congratulations. It's an honor to have you on the panel. So thank you.
I'd like to put in on that too, Brandon.
Yeah, go for
it. Apparently, I'm an essential worker too. I work on cars, and all of 2020, I think I had 1 week off.
Well, that's pretty impressive.
And hard.
Didn't the Nazis used to have some people who were considered essential workers? It seems like I've heard that term before, essential workers.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 1776 is right around the corner, bro.
I don't know. After what happened yesterday, I'm not so sure, but
it's got the patina of disastrous social planning from the center outward, ignoring market signals, ignoring reality. Sounds like socialism 101.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so there was a video from Level Earth Observer, and looks like I'm not subscribed for some reason, but he had found some footage of this ridiculous satellite from the moon satellite. Were you guys aware that there was a satellite that went around the moon at one time? Let me make this a little bigger. You guys see that? I'll play this here.
I can't actually see the screen.
You can't? Okay. All right.
I'm not near my phone. Sorry.
I see your screen now.
Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, so evidently the mission was Apollo 15. And they had this little three-legged, like tripod-looking satellite that was surveying the surface of the moon or something. I'm not exactly sure what the mission was. But I thought this was some pretty funny footage. Just kind of
and if that is hilarious, man. And if you want to,
if you guys go to NASA's website and look at all the 80s footage, classic.
It's hilarious, man. That's the stuff that,
hilarious.
Like I said, even if they went to the moon, it ain't that they're showing us. But even worse than that, like when they show the interview of Apollo 11, well, they didn't have like the GPS and all that, so they had to use basically parallax of the stars to get to map their path, and for their directions, they had to use basically a sextant, right? And like Mike Collins comes back and says that he don't remember seeing any stars. If he didn't see any stars at all, how did he map with a sextant?
Yeah, no kidding. So I'm just looking up on their site what this thing is. So this was called the Apollo 15 subsatellite. You can see a picture of it here. Let me just read this. Apollo 15 Particles and Field Subsatellite was a small satellite released into lunar orbit from the Apollo 15 service module. Its main objectives were to study the plasma particles and magnetic field environment of the moon and map the lunar gravity field.
Cool story, bro.
Right? I was hoping there were some pictures in here. Let's see if there is. Need some good stuff to laugh at. Additional information. No pictures. Anyway. So, yeah, that's the Apollo 15 subsatellite. Let me see if I can find a some good pictures besides what's in that video. Go check out Level Earth Observer's channel. He describes the satellite and talks about it a little bit. Sub-satellite.
That guy doesn't hold back either. He's dislikes Glovers, flat earthers alike. He'll call you out if you're full of shit. So he's always on point. Well, usually on point because we all get a little bit of leeway.
Here it is. Oh, there's a wiki page for it. Okay. Apollo 15 sub-satellite. Yeah. Is what it is, I suppose. All right. Anything else going on, guys? Everybody's pretty quiet right now.
I think it's important. Just real quick, I think it's important to emphasize the how much more valid it is to argue for empirical data. So, asking someone, how would you demonstrate that the Earth was a sphere? If they go to photographs from space, that is eliminating the empirical scientific method. Okay, so then the proper response would be, so you cannot demonstrate or prove it right now. Because it should be able to be done. Because before they had photographs, how did they know? The only way they could know would be an empirical, demonstrable, testable, and repeatable event. But because they have been able to introduce photographs, they have eliminated the skill of being able to demonstrate it empirically. To me, that is an important aspect of arguing. Again, if you ask somebody and they say, well, there's pictures, then the proper response is, okay, great, thank you. You cannot demonstrate it. Thank you.
Well, every time when I get that response, you'll see him paste blue marble or whatever in chat every once in a while when they don't have anything. And I just think, well, okay, then you really have nothing. You have no argument then if you're going to that. So, Travis, let me ask you something. Why don't the pictures from space do it for you? Why, when you see these pictures of satellites and the blue marble and all this stuff, why isn't it convincing for you?
Okay, so the only way I can respond to that is based on what I do know. Okay, so when I first got into this whole flat Earth thing, the thing that convinced me was what was sensible, what was logical, and what was empirical. So the only thing that I can think to answer is, if I didn't know what I knew, right? If I could go back to 1968 and I understood the mechanics of water, that water seeks its own level, and that a horizontal line is a level line and they don't bend, that there is no curvature. If they then showed me a picture of the blue marble, I wouldn't have to argue CGI, I wouldn't have to argue anything except to say, that's fake. And my only response is, I can demonstrate that water maintains its level here on Earth. I can show it to you right here. So the empirical, logical, and sensible opportunity for us to repeatedly demonstrate what water does on Earth, that alone justifies throwing out any photographs from space.
Yeah, I agree. And I always think of the source. I don't trust the government for anything. So why am I going to trust them with some pictures that were developed during the Cold War? They had many motives, as we've discussed many times, to want to fake something like that.
Well, it's not like they can't say something that, we can halfway take, but it's going to need some third-party verification. The more faith you have in a source, the more you just take it on faith what they say without having to verify it necessarily. At least not verify it immediately. But if after 10, 20 years of school indoctrination, you find out that those pictures from space are a little bit fake, I'm gonna need a laser.
Yeah, and they just look fake to me. Besides that, when I look at these pictures, they look like well done movie footage, well done effects for the time period. They say, well, they didn't have CGI back then. Well, they don't need CGI. We've all seen 2001: A Space Odyssey. We've all seen the movies they made back then. They didn't need CGI. They had other methods. People were doing optical tricks long before there was ever computers.
The nature of the fakery changed. Back then, it had to be a Photoshop cut and paste image where you could see the borders on the moon image. Nowadays, they have sophisticated, CGI imagery. But before then, notice how it was a horizon photo where the Earth is halfway in the shot below, and you're seeing some blackness above, almost as if you can't really get too far above the thing, like you're under a firmament.
Yeah, like I don't know what visual cues I'm picking up on. But when I look at like this picture that's on screen, for example, when I look at this, there is something in my brain that says this looks fake. There's something not right about how this vehicle is. I don't know. I mean, it's too clear. Something doesn't seem right with it, and it doesn't seem to fit with this background, which really looks unnatural. Now, have I ever been to the moon? Do I know how it looks? No. But my instincts with a lot of these pictures tell me this looks fake. This is fake.
Well, think about this too. Where is this picture being taken? Where's the source? How far away is it? I mean, think about the resolution that would have to exist. I mean, that looks like, what, a couple miles away? Oh, no, it's 100,000 miles away. Oh, really? You've got that kind of fucking resolution? Really?
And you never get a 360 shot where they break the fourth wall, you were saying?
No, I mean, I'm just trying to support what Brandon's saying. I mean, for me, the clarity of this is just amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It would have to be within a short proximity, but again, where is this, what's the source satellite that this is taken from, and how far away allegedly is it?
Well, this is supposed to be during the rendezvous for Apollo 15, the command center from the command module, I think. I don't know which the different parts.
Oh, okay,
of
I
the
see.
thing are.
I see what you're saying.
So
yeah, but even still, that's a pretty good image. Not too grainy.
No, and this looks remarkably clear, right? I guess the argument could be made, well, they're in space, there's nothing, it's a near vacuum, so it shouldn't look cloudy, it should look clear. But
but then you go to the LEM taken off from the moon in the first mission, and that thing's grainy as shit.
Yeah, that one's especially ridiculous. Let's bring that up just to remind people of some of the more obvious fakery. I don't know how anybody can look at that and go, "Oh yeah, totally. That's totally what we would see."
Well, the fact of the matter is, most people are gullible, man. Most people are gullible and accept anything. And I was one of them people until I seen this shit with my own two eyes. Once you see a few pictures like that and you still believe it, then I consider you a fool.
I've always wondered why Frank Zappa named his daughter Moon Unit. That's really his daughter's name, Moon Unit Zappa.
The middle name is Unit?
Yep, and his son is Dweezil.
Hi, hey, this is my son, Dweezil, and my daughter, Moon Unit. Okay.
He's a fantastic guitarist, don't get me wrong. There's a lot behind that name. He can do 3,000 notes a minute easy.
All right, here it is. Here is this takeoff. Everybody behold science.
Say it the Dolby way. Science.
we need some mood music. Come on. Dun,
That
dun,
would be cool.
Science.
Dun, 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 dun,
dun.
Look at that. Just look at that. How can you look at that and go, that's real? Here, let me slow it down.
How could you possibly doubt it?
Good point.
It's right there in living black and white in front of your face.
Here it comes.
That was studio quality back then. Literally.
Oh, wait, that one's in color? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Well, you got to think about the fact as well that the camera is remote controlled. It's following the limb taking off.
Is it here where they were taking off where the guy says, what a rush, and stuff? Or was that another landing? Or
I don't remember.
I think it was a takeoff from the moon like this, and you hear the audio, what a rush, what a rush.
I mean, how hard would that be to reproduce that right now?
But again, think about it, guys. Think about it. So
A crane.
they would have had to have had wireless transfer of this data.
Yeah, that's what they say they did.
It's a wireless camera.
They had inverted umbrellas there that would spin sometimes too. They had them on the rovers, their moon buggies there. All those little inverted umbrellas, like an umbrella blown open in the wind there the wrong way. That's how they communicated. They're little inverted dishes. They had little satellite dishes back then. They still have them spinning dishes on the ISS and stuff.
Yeah, I think that you can see them on the lunar lander at some points. They have these little satellite dishes. I don't know if you can see them here. No.
All right, thank you.
But yeah, this is one of my favorite pieces of
You're
film
welcome.
of all time because the colors coming off of it. What is the explanation? Why is there color shooting off in every direction?
No one thanks you,
Possibly
Travis.
Prism or something giving a prismatic effect.
Oh,
But maybe
yeah.
even lens aberration or something.
That's how they did that, right? Yeah.
Particle talcum powder can sometimes give a sort of like a rainbow light. Taupe crystal will give off almost a full spectrum of light like that. That's probably how they got it. They shine some light on some taupe.
Okay.
Pure taupe is white. It looks white as snow, but you shine light and you get every color of the rainbow.
Just
taupe crystal is very unusual.
Attach that model to a fishing pole. Countdown 3, 2, 1. Slowly yank that thing up. There you go. You got yourself a takeoff from the surface of the moon. But that's a good one. Yeah, some of this stuff is just laughable. Is it fair of us not to accept this evidence? I'm just going to ask this question. Is it fair of us to reject outright?
Yes.
You think?
Yes.
Yeah. You think so?
I would suggest. Again, they put everything in our face. There's a movie with James Sicking. It's a British production, a comedy, but it's called Morons from Space. I think if you have a good sense of humor and you're a flat earther, it's a film well worth watching. But it's called Morons from Outer Space. It's a gem when you're a flat earther. So if you haven't
I
seen
think
it,
you would have to be a moron, bro, to believe
I
any of this stuff.
recommend it to all flat earthers. Globers wouldn't catch how stupid and buffoon they're made to look in believing
Hey,
in
just
space.
just a live, Jimbo, just a live video feed, right? Just the power that it would take just to send a live video feed from the moon, right?
They slap down the idiots of space travel, all the bullshit, and make it like it's just a casual thing you can do in your pajamas. It's a fucked up movie, man. But they
We've all
slap
seen
fucking
when a reporter
space and all that bullshit.
Yeah. We've all seen when a reporter has to do a reporting like from the side, what goes on, right? There's a big old truck there with a big diesel thing, and then the thing goes up, right? All kinds of power going on, and you're gonna tell me they broadcast from the moon with batteries? No way.
Evidently, this is the thing that they supposedly used. This is the television camera.
Your AM radio stations here, and that was before FM was well developed and used by everyone. But the AM for radio broadcasting antenna to give you your news, traffic reports, and music took about 70,000 watts in the day to service their local area, and less at night because there's less interference. In fact, they could get away with 30,000 watts at night. But in the daytime, they had to go 70, 80,000 watts of transmission power just to get an area of a few hundred square miles. That's not 250,000 miles to the moon.
There's no freaking way in hell that they broadcast live pictures from the moon in 1969. No way.
They forget about their delay too, and they start talking like we're talking now, just directly exchanging with each other. The delay seems to go away at some points during their endeavors. It's just not right. It's all bullshit. We know it. C'est arrangé avec le gars des vues. C'est fini.
Look, they had a power cell on the orbiter for this guy in the chat that he seems to be a rocket scientist. The power that they had on the orbiter was a fuel cell, okay, which they used to power the batteries of the LEM. Trust me, we know what we're talking about. Now, you explain to me how those batteries had life support, right, and was able to transmit live from the moon. You explain me how that works.
Join the panel, ballers, in the chat, just hiding behind a keyboard.
Plus 200 degrees Fahrenheit, minus I don't know how much degrees Fahrenheit, 80 or something. Yeah, you tell me how that works, how those batteries did that.
And there was no retransmission of a video signal and audio 250,000 miles away on whatever little wattages they could have had on their equipment. I mean, there were no, cameras all ran on cables and everything. The signal would have had to be processed through pretty heavy and bulky equipment and then rebroadcast from the moon.
Yeah, and explain to me how astronauts with those bulky suits like the Michelin men were able to take perfect pictures, number one, and number two, explain to me how those cameras work flawlessly in space.
Well, listen to this. The camera had to be designed to survive extreme temperature differences on the lunar surface, ranging from 121 Celsius, 250 Fahrenheit in daylight to negative 157 Celsius, negative 251 Fahrenheit in the shade. Same with their
that's fine
suits,
for the
right?
camera itself, but the film and the film stock, the base, the acetate, whether it's cellulose acetate or cellulose nitrate, and the emulsion that's on it is extremely sensitive to extreme temperatures. In fact, most of them, the gelatin, the emulsion that's on them, will melt at about 105 to 110 degrees.
If it doesn't outgas before with the vacuum. So there's so many things.
And
You got
it gets
radiation.
fogged up by the radiation.
Yeah.
Anytime film's exposed, you could take, anyone remember the Coco, the computer by Tandy Corporation?
No.
The Radio Shack? They called it the Coco. Well, it was pulled from the market because it generated X-ray. In fact, it generated enough X-ray that if you held a film, a piece of photo paper behind your hand, put your hand over that little computer, you'd have an X-ray of your hand. There was that much came off.
Holy crap.
They really, for real. But it's what happens when, even if you took a light bulb and you put a heat shield around it, a metal heat shield, any energy that's strong enough to get through the heat shield is converted to X-ray and other stuff. It's how you create X-ray.
You know a lot about
metal.
Oh, sorry, Jimbo.
It's okay. But anyway, even way back then, I guess they didn't even. They were using for video cameras what they call Plumnicon tubes. Then later on, they got these color Videocon tubes, different technology that didn't use lead. The problem with the Plumnicon is if you pointed at a bright light, even for a second, it would be burned permanently into the material that captures the images. It was very sensitive to studio lights or anything. Even for a few seconds, it could ruin the tube. And when the cameras did go up to the lights and came back down, you used to see these streamers, these trails of light behind where the camera movement and stuff. So the Videocon, it replaced the Plumnicon. Oh no, Orthocon came after Plumnicon, and then finally a type of camera that was called the Videocon. And all the Bob Barker and all these shows we saw in nice color with those cameras, they were all Videocon tubes in them. That's not a Videocon. I'm pretty sure that would be Orthocon or Plumnicon. More likely Orthocon, but that's just knowing these old gizmos.
Have you heard of the Hasselblad, Jimbo?
Yep, 2.5 inch base by 2.5 inch for the film. Really fine resolution for the amount of grain and surface for the image. They make spectacular photos.
Look at this picture.
Yes, but sorry, go ahead.
Look at this picture, Apollo 10 TV image of Earth. Look at how the edge of Earth is jagged here.
Well, the raster lines are in the wrong position too. You see those kind of lines running through it? Those are the horizontal scanning lines on the TV screen. So it's been tilted. I don't know why it's offset almost 90 degrees.
This looks like it was taken through the window, like they showed in that one documentary.
I was just gonna say that, Brandon. That looks like it's looking out a porthole.
I wonder where sex is written in the clouds.
That's somebody's
or
shoulder.
Angels or demons.
I think that's what they're doing with some of these. Is they go up there and then they have these portals that kind of skew. They're like magic mirrors, except with windows, right? And they point the camera at these, and it makes this outline. You could even add blur to the window, right? You could paint that right on the window, that Terminator type line, or have something you insert in the window depending on what day it is. Stand back, turn all the lights off, take a picture of the window, and voila, there you go. You got your spinning space ball. Like,
magic.
Like this just looks like these clouds look small. This looks like just a little, portion of the Earth, right?
If you're going to go that far, bro, if you're going to go that far, they could make a shutter in a window that revolves with the damn clock, according to where you're at. Like a shutter that matches the Terminator line. In my opinion, they could fool astronauts. In my opinion, once you've seen that one helmet with that video of what's his name, Felix Baumgartner.
Yeah.
Talk about seeing the curvature of Earth, and then you caught a glimpse before he put his helmet on through the helmet, and the ground already was curved on the ground during the damn interview.
Yeah.
It's they don't catch everything, man. They don't. I mean, I don't know. I just wish. I don't know. I want to go back to the batteries, man, because I got some solar panels a couple years ago, or about a year and a half ago, and I got 400 watt panels. I bought 4 brand new 2019 deep cycle batteries, and they're pretty decent. They ain't the best. They're decent. They're deep cycle, and I could get the smallest AC I had running. If I tried to run it at night, and it worked for about 45 minutes. A little AC to heat a small room ran for about 45 minutes, and that's with 2019 deep cycle batteries. And they probably weighed about, 20, 25 pounds a piece. And so the amount of batteries they said they had, I'm not going to quote it like I remember exactly, but there's no way that they could have the temperature control inside nothing at all for more than, maybe 5-6 hours, in my opinion.
Yo, could I have a minute real quick? Are you guys in the middle of something?
No, go ahead. We're just bullshitting about NASA fakery.
All right, before the show started, I asked anyone if they had any ways to make a horizontal line or, test for the curvature or whatever. And that this Global Fox guy that's in here, he told me that he saw this thing on Jeranism where they had line and they pulled it tight over the water to see if it would sink in the middle. and the line snapped on them. Now, I brought this idea to the people in GEMS one day, and they told me, they're like, oh, that won't work, the line will snap. But I hadn't even mentioned what kind of line I was going to use. So if anyone out there is very familiar with the tensile strength of line and why it would snap before it got pulled under the...
bro. You're talking my language, Jeremy, and you know that. But man, they're trying to use that high tensile strength shit. That's not. I mean, I haven't used that, but I heard that it didn't work. So, dude, the shit I got is ass line. And if for some reason, let me say this: if for some reason Winston gets it and Nathan Thompson are listening to this, I need some help doing this test, man. If I had somebody on standby for even 24, 36 hours, somebody nearby, and I heard they're coming down to the southeast, and I'm in North Florida, extreme North Florida, right by the coast. I got a particular spot, and I think within a 36-hour window, if I had two guys ready to go at all times, where when we had to catch the still tide, but the cheap line that's semi-buoyant, you know, it went way further than the math dictated on land. So they're going by that extreme. They're talking about that certain wire that's so strong it pulls tight, but it doesn't support itself like the cheap, flexible shit that I stretched 600 yards or 570 yards, man. They said that after 60 yards, it would hit the ground. But I got another idea, but go ahead.
And the one I was going to use, I was going to have it floating on top of the water. You get some straight up buoyant line, and you keep it floating on the water, and then you have a winch on one side, and you have it staked off on the other side, and then you just pull it tight. And you know, if you're pulling it for a mile, there should be 8 inches in the middle, or it should at least sink underneath the water in the middle somewhere for some amount of depth. Whatever.
For a mile, if we can do it for a mile.
I think it's 2 inches. It's 2 inches that's sagittal.
Yeah. Well, it should be 4 in my book. If they say it's 8 over a mile, it should be 4. They
It's
can say 3 all they want or 2. But
it's exponential. Anyways, the point is it should go underwater. If it's flat, it's not going to sink because the line's floating. It's buoyant line. So if Earth is...
your experiment, bro, with the straight line.
But hold on. These guys told me before I even mentioned the tensile strength of the line or what kind of line it was or anything, they told me it would snap before it sunk under the water in the middle. I want to know how they came to that conclusion. So if anyone's good with line or knows like the math for tensile strength or why the line would break before it sunk, hit me up.
I think it's going to be very difficult to stretch a line far enough, personally. Whether it's on water or underwater or over land.
If you have it staked up, say you have land on either side and a body of water in between, and you have it staked off on one side, and then you have a winch pulling it on the other side, I mean, I don't see that it should pull it. It should be able to pull it tight, especially if you have a high test.
Man, the math says that it's going to snap after 60 yards before it pulls tight. Over 60 feet, it's supposed to hit the ground. Okay, over 60, it's 2 foot off the ground, over 60 yards, or either 1 foot off the ground. Either way, I killed that math. George did the math. He came back with it, and I did a live demonstration at Jose's. It didn't prove it, but I made a video showing. But I mean, I could do a better video where you could see.
Did you do it above the? Did you do it above the water?
I did it down my road, man.
Above land,
3 inches of sag, bro. On thin air. That's the reason I say this test is worth doing. Is that I went 570 yards, not 60, 570. I measured it with my auto level and got 3 inches of sag, and I didn't even have it pulled all the way tight. I think I could get it to about 2 inches, maybe. I mean, I'm not sure how much it starts tightening up or how much higher it goes, but the sag that the math says is bullshit with the flexible line. It might be with that wire that they're talking about, that cable, that light extreme shit, but that flexible wire does not follow that math. Period. But as far as I thought of something else for you, Jeremy. We don't have to draw a line 2 miles long or 3 miles long. We could get some like styrofoam boards and just go to any coastline, any beach, and we'd need a few people, but we just set them up and just like they're 8 foot long, and we set up about 10 of them, 80 foot, and draw a straight line on that and start rotating more sheets from the back, working them to the front. Just keep alternating
and drawing a straight line would be hard to go wrong.
Sorry, what did that last person say? Either mic was a little off. Hello?
I think your mic dropped out, Brian.
Yeah.
I thought it was somebody else said something after Brian was done.
I thought it was me again.
I mean, anything that works in a straight line, I don't know about how that would work with. The thing is, the more segments you use, the bigger your error bar is going to be. And there's a very small tolerance for error in this measurement. You know what I mean? Whether you're drawing a straight line or using physical pieces of something, the more segments you use, the more pieces you have, the higher the error is going to be on it. So, you know, and think like a glober. Anything they can use to get out of it, they'll just say, "Oh, that's bending with the Earth curve of Earth" or whatever. You know what I mean? You got to think like a glober when we're trying to brainstorm on this shit.
Right. Well, yeah, we want to do it for ourselves, but take as many of the variables out of it as possible.
I mean, I'm trying to do it for my peoples.
Right.
You know what I mean? I already know Earth's flat. My wife isn't so certain now. If I could bring something to her and show her, that's how you need to bring some rock solid definitive shit to your people and be like, why are you even questioning me? Here's the measurement. Here's what it is.
Right. Because you've got
I
so
don't
many
need to do it
things
for me.
that
I already know.
So many mental, blocks that you have to get through. So many things you have to investigate because they've covered all their bases as far as the propaganda and making people think that the Earth's a ball.
Yeah, like I already know this isn't for me. I know. I just want to do it for my people, so my peoples can come to the realization.
Okay, right, but see, I think that while that's an honorable thing to do, you're taking the burden to yourself, right? So
yeah, this is a burden-proof. This is a burden-proof reversal fallacy they did on us, absolutely, and I fell for it. And
well, but what I mean is that if your wife was the sort of person that had that kind of initiative, the thing you would say is, prove it. You prove that the Earth is curved. You do it.
The thing is, she doesn't care, though.
No, I know. That's why I said if she had. No, I know. But
can
again,
I interrupt with something that might be interesting? Maybe you can give it a quick view in the background. But it's a guy named Craig Brown proves flat Earth. It's on YouTube. It's really a very good video. It's got a 200 plus mile shot with a infrared P900 and stuff going for it. I think it's well worth a quick watch through for anybody interested. I'll post it.
Thanks, Jimbo. The thing with the optical thing is, any pictures or anything, they've already. I mean, Rumpus has said we could see our own ass in a telescope. So on spherical Earth, which is insane.
I read the paper that he got that from. So it wasn't just that he said it. He's parroting what is in a published paper.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, there's no. I don't think there's an optical thing. Like I've told you this before, Travis. I don't think there's any optical thing that would end this. After hearing that, what could you show them optically? you know, not that you're ever going to change their minds, but let's say we find some amazing optical shit and then bring it to our peoples, and then they bring it to the Globers, and they just get shut down.
Well, the one thing that I'm trying to think through some more is proof of concept with the point that Rumpus brought up, and that is that if you do have an inferior mirage, the angle at which you're looking at the horizon is and can be very acute. So the difficulty for them is, how is that small tiny angle making a large section disappear? My argument is there are multiple effects going on in the distance, in the midground, and in the foreground. And that's something that doesn't come out in Andrew Thomas Young. When he presents his diagrams, that he breaks down the ray tracing and then also draws a diagram of the image itself, which isn't real. He's simply presenting a one-dimensional idea. He's not allowing for multiple effects happening at once. And so when we have the ships that are cut in half and there's no mirage, that's where proximate looming comes in. Now, in order for me to demonstrate that, it's going to take a shit ton of time and more than me. My point is that there's magnification in the background, there's something in the midground, and then there's proximate looming in the foreground. All of those things together, you've got what I think is a feasible approach to addressing the issue.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. We've talked about how dynamic it is and the distances we're talking about, what can happen through the atmosphere. He was trying to pigeonhole our argument in a sense by saying that we're only saying that the sun is going behind an inferior mirage and blah, blah, blah. Same old tactics.
Yeah, Ruhif tried to say you got to get up 100 feet or something like that. See, the Skunk Bay footage is up a couple hundred feet with the image. You know, you see the mountains in the background, the trees before that, then the boats. And, you know, you could look off in the distance basically as far as you want and see what's happening. I've tried to look at it close to see. It's not showing much magnification, but magnification is obvious in these videos where ships are cut off like that in the distance. It's obvious. The ship in the background is just as big as the ship in the foreground when it should not be seen at all, even with zoom. And but you do see it, but it's cut off. It's freaking obviously magnification. But yeah, there's a couple of them that aren't so obvious that would call for some other. But there's an assortment of things. But yeah, so if you think you got to be that high to get up above refraction, I think refraction happens as far as we can. But you hit a certain point where you just can't see the horizon, even with optics, and that's the point that refraction stops. You can't see that far. Once again, the boats we're zooming in at over the coast are not. Your naked eye is not seeing this refraction. It's zoomed, so you're only seeing the light that's reaching your eyes. So you can't bring the bottom of a boat back that's already left the light's capability. If the light is not reaching your eye, it's not going to reach the lens of the camera. Okay. So, like I said, most of these boats we're zooming in on, we're seeing this refraction. We're not seeing that refraction with the naked eye. Do you agree?
So, I mean, if we get this definitive drop, if we get this definitive evidence that there's no drop from horizontal, there's nothing left to talk about. We don't have to talk about how a sunset works or what's going on in the sky or anything or why things are being obstructed bottom up. It's over. If we just get this definitive, no drop from horizontal proof.
We need a plan, though.
And let me say this:
we need an an experimental plan.
Like, even if
you map out your ball,
which I wouldn't mind.
We wouldn't have to talk about Coriolis. Nothing.
I'd still want to find out what. Oh, there it is, my mic. Sorry. I'd still want to find out, though, right? Why do we see it go the way it does and shit?
Yeah.
Sure, that's something that we could look into. That's something we can look into after, and I'd be all for that. But I mean, I think for now, we should try to just get the drop from horizontal thing down, because that would then you'd have the Globers in on it with us. They would be trying to wonder why are things disappearing bottom up. Then we'd have them in on it with us.
Exactly. That's the hopes, right?
Okay, wait. So this guy that just started talking, what did you say? Why does that happen? Why does what happen? I missed that. Why does what happen?
Oh, and no, he was saying that we don't need to talk about why the sun sets. And I was like, well, I mean, afterwards we should. We could try to figure that out. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still interesting. I mean, we still want to explain the world around us and how it works and why it looks the way it does and shit.
Yeah, but you won't need it for the argument. It'll be,
the argument's over
to everyone.
Yeah,
exactly.
Those are all important questions, but they're not the issue. The foundational issue, and the foundational issue again. I don't think that we need to set out to prove that the Earth doesn't curve. Right? Again,
I'm afraid I'm probably the only baller right now that's going to say that.
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that, Grim, because whenever we've brought it up, wherever we've brought it up, with whoever we brought it up on the ball side, they all say it's pointless, it can't be done. Partly I can understand from their point of view, but it seems like they don't want us to do that.
Grim's not your average baller, so take it easy on him.
Yeah, I don't believe in most of the shit that they try to fucking peddle us anyway.
I don't know if you notice in Gems, he's on our side almost all of the time.
Yeah, it's all good, man.
You're a baller. I thought you were a flat earther.
Yeah, see.
You're an honorary
But I
flat
definitely
earther.
know about how these guys manipulate and lie when he's talking about over at Jim's server and stuff. I know exactly how it's done because I sit there and I hand them their own data from their own sources and their own people that contradict their own narratives, and they still act like it's hogwash, and they treat it like they try to pretend like, you know, it's crazier than anything that there is out there. They treat me worse than they treat you guys.
Yeah, I've heard
that. And I actually show them a bunch of actual science from their own people and shit. They really, really hate it. So I know that they're manipulative, and I don't trust their opinion. Like if they were to tell me it's a ball and I had to deal with just them, I would definitely not agree or believe them because of the way I see them lie. So there's that.
That was one of the things that tipped me off in the beginning. It was like, oh, wait a minute, I need to look into this more, because I was big into politics, and I saw that same kind of behavior out of political operatives. And when I came to the flat Earth, I was like, wait a minute, why are these guys that are defending, you know, the globe, why am I seeing these same behaviors that I saw in these political operatives out of these guys? That doesn't make any sense.
That was exactly what tipped me off too. Not to be too psychoanalytical, but when you compare the two, they do the exact same tactics. I mean, it's just point for point. They do the same thing, and I just keep calling them out for that. And they just go, oh, yeah, you're just psychoanalyzing me. But yeah, I am, and because it's obvious exactly what you're doing. You're doing the same thing they are.
So why do they do that? If you have the truth on your side, and you have all of the body of science and all this stuff, why would you behave like that? Or is there some kind of misperception on my part where I think these are tactics that they're using, but they're not? You guys seem to see the same thing, so I don't think it's just me.
No, it's not just you, and it's definitely a tactic.
If it doesn't make sense, someone's making money. So NASA's government, it's probably a government operation, probably trying to bury the ether and run interference for NASA since they're coming under heat.
Well, what I find really interesting is that my first red pill for me was in my own field of biblical studies. So I was already going against my tradition. And whenever I did, and I went into Facebook chats and whatnot, the exact same behavior was in those Christian groups resisting me from going, okay, let's look at the claims of the Bible. And they resisted and did the exact same behavior that you guys are describing that the ballers do when you try to take the ball away. Exactly the same.
Like when you start messing with somebody's
I'm not
belief
sure that it is human nature. I spoke about this just like either last night or the night before. I think that somewhere before us in the generations, or maybe even multiple generations, people were tricked. They got lazy. They allowed themselves to be tricked rather than using their mind and thinking logically. They started to allow themselves to be tricked into thinking things, and then they taught their kids the same things instead of teaching their children how to think critically and logically. I don't think it's human nature. I think it's a lack of proper teaching and proper taking of responsibility to use your brain what it's for, like what it's actually there for.
So like being lazy is part of human nature too. Sometimes it's just some, I mean, I'm not here to argue with you because I agree with a lot of what you're saying, like the education and everything is really important, but it is also, even amongst the highly educated, they have a bias structure on their belief system that you're not supposed to fuck with it in their mind. It's not, it's like, how dare you tell me what I know is wrong? So there's sort of and then if I can get a group of
that,
people
I think
to
is that I think
beliefs,
is a regular human thing.
Yeah. So when I get a group of people to affirm my beliefs, I align myself with those people, right? and then you end up finding yourself being irrational and biased against other ideas that, you know what I mean, are presented with you in that group, and you'll team up together even to lie and manipulate, not even realizing that they're lying or manipulating. They'll be just intellectually dishonest in case, you know, and tell you things like, this is impossible, it doesn't work like that, there's no way, and all that kind of shit, you know, when they're just clearly not willing to look for another way because it threatens their belief structure. Excuse me.
And they basically boxed a bunch of globe skeptics into flat Earth. They pretty much boxed me in as a flat earther. So yeah, I love the debate, and I make sure every time I'm debating one of them, I ask them, do they think it's a fair debate, a good debate? They all agree.
Well,
and they're the forefront, man. They're the forefront.
The
best they got.
I was going to say, the sad thing is that we even have to be like this, because the truth is out there. At some point in the past, it was, but to add to what Bob was saying, it's like the truth has been lost, and then generationally, the deception or the misinformation has been passed down in good faith in most instances, and so we've ended up with this deception is now our new truth, but the actual truth was always there and always will be there. But the people who are interested in it and are looking for it are now labelled nutcases. So that's just like this horrible nexus we find ourselves in.
It's the allegory of the cave,
polarized, man.
right?
It's getting more. One more thing, it's getting more and more polarized, man. Because you're gonna have people in about 5 years where flat Earth or globe skepticism is spreading. Then you're gonna have a lot of people who think that dark matter is a proven fact. You know, that's where it's heading. It's getting more and more polarizing, where particular thoughts are spreading. And they're going to think dark matter and dark energy are scientific fact, proven.
Well,
you know,
we already run into that problem.
And cash is bad.
We run into both of those problems already. Yeah.
Well, people make sense out of their world, you know, in several ways. And when you take their foundational belief system that they use to discover other truth, they're going to feel lost, whether it's religion or Gnosticism and the occult, or just, you know, the third path that people take in these truther communities, where they just decide, you know, I'm just going to decide what to believe in or not, with or without any real consistency. And so it helps if there's some red pill overlap, you know, between what they think they know is true and this new thing to discover, without having to uproot their foundation totally. You know, that way they don't have so much of a shock to the system.
Well, that is one thing that we you know, tends to happen. People, you know, they get into the flat earth and then they bring other stuff into it. You may or may not agree with this other stuff. They bring in, what's that one where stuff change, the Mandela effect, or you know, some other
Gnosticism, occult, you know, radicalism.
Demons and aliens.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they try to tag it with a bunch of stuff because they're trying to open you up to other things, you know. So after a while, you just have to use discernment, you know, whether it's religion, truth, Gnosticism, occult, self, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
It's science, man.
Science.
And science should be skeptic, because think about this. How exciting is it just to think we all got shit figured out when we know that it's not completely figured out? There's always more to learn. But the main point in that is that, like say, what's a good example of that? Man, I'm brain farting, but it's science, and people should always be skeptic. But think about the stars. That's what I was gonna say. The main, like an example, the stars. When I bring that up about they're not visible past a certain height, you get, you know, I don't get no fact. I get people from Apollo 11 saying they didn't see the stars at all, and some people saying, yeah, there's a reason why they disappear, and then some people saying that that no, they don't disappear. That's bullshit. You know, they don't disappear at 100,000 feet. And to me, there's evidence to back that up. So they're not even on the same page, and they don't even know it, dude. So that's not the way science should be. To me, it's exciting, learning more, progressing. To me, this we're the forefront of science, in my opinion. Science is learning shit from us, and I'll give some examples in my next video.
I love how it's a compilation. Hold on, there's a compilation video of all the NASA astronauts, and you've got some of them saying they do see stars, some of them saying they don't. Then you've got people asking how they were navigating, and then they say it was by the star. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, different
how many
stories.
times has science? How many times has science changed its mind or changed its direction over the last 150 or 200 years? But the rumpus of 1925 would have got on a channel like this and abused everyone, saying you're all idiots. We know this, we know that. And then lo and behold, 10 years later, some advance happens or some crazy, like one of us comes along, discovers or figures something new out, and then suddenly science is saying something different. But in 10 years earlier, science is telling everyone they're idiots because we know what the situation is.
We have never lived
here
in
and
the
say
time.
we know this. They don't know shit.
We have never lived in the time where science has been right. They've been wrong. Oh, they've always been wrong throughout history.
I'll give you.
People think that right now. People think right now is the time that we live in where they got it. They just happen to get it right.
Yeah, it is a contradiction for sure. And I'll give you a great example of that. Bloodletting. At one time, bloodletting was, the height of medical techniques. In fact, George Washington's death is attributed to the bloodletting. The best doctors he had in the whole country used to try to cure him.
The most recent example, the PCR test.
Oh my gosh, and that was blatantly obvious. Test. Yeah, and if you spoke out against the PCR test, they were called. You were automatically labeled a crazy conspiracy kook.
Yeah, we tested a donut. They tested a Coca-Cola and a lima bean. They all came up positive.
And a goat. And a goat.
A donut. A fucking donut, dude.
Yeah, goat and a cantaloupe. Yep.
Oh no!
So, and then I think Elon Musk tested 4 times in a day, right? And he got 2 positives and 2 negatives. And he tweeted about it. He was like, "What the fuck?"
I know that threw my head for a loop. Straight. When he did that, threw my head for a loop. I was like, "What? What is?"
So here's what I think they're doing. I think that if you go in there and you think you have COVID, they'll find a way to show you that you actually do have COVID. But if you don't think you have COVID, you're probably not. You know what I mean? It's like if you accept it, you can have it. In a way.
This is like mind over matter. I mean, at this point, it's not even knowledge. I mean, we're talking about 2 types of knowledge here. The body of stuff that we've discovered as one definition of knowledge, and you being able to figure out stuff for yourself knowledge. By this, second metric, figuring it out for yourself, you can't have any knowledge at all nowadays because it's so esoteric. They have, one meaning that they give out to the masses, and then really when they're in private with themselves, esoterically, they talk to each other and say, this really doesn't work, or this isn't really matching. There's so much dispute between even the scientists. But for the masses, they present this united front. But behind the closed doors, there's a war going on. And there's no way to bring any of this stuff together because none of it's natural or intuitive for the mind at all. So by that second metric, there's no knowledge. You can't figure this stuff out on your own.
Well, I mean, let's be real. Imagination is more important than knowledge, no?
It helps to make connections. Yeah.
Well, would you say it's more important though, your imagination, than knowledge? Because I mean, Einstein said that.
Well, you can't really have an imagination without some knowledge, right?
Yeah, but to say it's more important though, that's how kooky Einstein was. He said imagination is more important than knowledge.
Well, he's right? Because look, he proved it. Because his theoretical physics somehow trumps experimental physics right now.
I don't know
he did
about
prove
that.
it, I guess. You're right. You're right, Grim. You're right. He proved it.
That's kind of like walking into the special ed class and making an awesome claim and having all of them nod their heads, and then you say you proved it. Okay?
That's right. That's exactly what happened, though. You're correct, too, in that analogy, because literally what happened here. Like, we all became the special ed because we accepted what these fucking shittards were telling us about math magics, and then what we're seeing with our own eyes isn't true. So we fell for it. I mean, not me and you. Eventually, we fell out of it. But I mean, as a whole, though, people.
Grim, did you say you're a baller?
Yeah.
You sure about that, man?
See, that's what I said. I said,
Oh, I'm a plasma cosmologist, right? So I see all these fucking assholes lie about, the actual physics that is in their own publishings. Because it doesn't fit their narrative. They marginalize and hide that shit because the electric force is 1,000 billion times stronger than gravity, right?
Grim, do you have TikTok?
No, I don't. I probably couldn't figure out how to operate it.
I sent you a
I mean, technically, it's infinitely more powerful because it exists.
I'm kidding, though. I could figure it out. Yeah, there you go.
Maybe
infinitely.
I call that, Bob.
Well, the thing
like
is, if you're talking about imagination, you're talking about a childlike willingness to accept the framework, which makes later knowledge possible. If you talk about the adult side, that's like the right side of the brain that is open to revelation, to spirits, to, you know, God whispering to you, demons from hell trying to tell you stuff, and you just like a child accept it, and you're open to it. Now, the left side of the brain is the more adult side. You've accepted this framework, you're exploring it now within that framework and trying to get additional knowledge within that framework. That's the more adult logical side on the left. But sometimes, like a child, you got to throw all that stuff away and accept a new framework with, you know, trust, you know, which is what I would say is the right side of the brain, the childlike imagination. And sometimes you can have a eureka moment. Sometimes you can be misled, but, you know, sometimes you can find something new.
Well, this is a great discussion. I hate to end it short, but it's 8 o'clock. So we're going to do final thoughts. One note before I do, this sunset video that I played was from Bev Try Thinking. I downloaded it months ago and didn't remember who it was from. Somebody reminded me, so credit to him for this excellent footage.
Shout out to Try Thinking.
Okay.
Oh yeah, to finish up what I was saying, you mind if I
no,
jump
go
right
ahead, yeah.
back where
Yeah.
Lemon kind of jumped in? I didn't want to interrupt him because he was on a good one. But so damn, where was I? Oh, about the
electricity is
the electric
more
force.
powerful?
Yeah, the electric force being so much stronger than gravity, and they said that this gravity alone was doing all the heavy lifting and the operating and moving of everything out there in the solar system. For that to be true, there literally could be no electrical connections between these bodies, because any electrical connection whatsoever would be more powerful than gravity. So they're, at whatever level. But what we found since the space age is, in their own paperwork, is there's electricity everywhere. There's currents like 200 million electron volts on the moon of Enceladus and then shit. And then right on our own planet, we have a tube of electrical plasma that goes straight from the Earth to the sun in a big loop, like a circuit. Yet still gravity alone is doing all this heavy lifting. And that's where I wanted to end it, because I thought it's hilarious that they stick to that dogma, even though the new data supports obviously the very opposite. Good. All right. Thank you, by the way, for having me on today. I didn't even know we were on a show.
Oh, anytime. Thanks for stopping in, Grim. And we'll do final thoughts. Grim, you kind of just did yours, unless you have something more to say.
That was it. Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Cool. Thank you. Brian Leakey.
Yeah, man. It's only up to like 35%. My full presentation with the makes a lot more sense, man. It's more cohesive. And flat Earth test, man. It's no spaces, just capital F, capital E, capital T, man. Even if you're just going to make fun of it, man. Good ideas or some good shit to slam if you don't believe any of it. But I try to take stuff that it's called the full presentation that I tried to give the other day, but it's flat Earth, sunsets and lunar eclipses over flat Earth, and I give science to back it up. I give where the science went wrong, proving where they went wrong, and how they're back close to the right track. Anyway, I give examples and of a lot of where science is at today. And I believe everybody in this argument probably was good at science and enjoys it. And I think the more skeptical people are on our side. They've kind of boxed us into flat Earth, but I wouldn't bet everything on Earth being flat. I just bet everything that we're not moving the way they say we are. I can appreciate Grim, somebody like that who is not going to argue against the globe, but will argue on obvious. And so everybody check out my video. It should be uploaded within a couple days at this rate, but no, a few hours. But y'all check it out. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. I just shared the link to your channel too, so that's cool. FE.
Hey, I just want to appreciate Grim for coming in here with a different opinion, but being able to have a chat with us and it not turn into a screaming match. You know, he seems open-minded and a nice guy. I just hope he comes back. We might all learn something from one another and move forward a bit. Cheers, Brandon.
Thanks, Effie. Global virus foe.
Yeah, just great show as usual. Thank you.
Thanks, man. Travis. We'll come back. Hi, Rockwell. Jeremy.
Yo, shouts out to Bev Try Thinking. I think he's got the best argument in the whole game. Level is horizontal. It's something we could prove. It's also the argument that ends all the arguments. You know what I mean? We prove levels horizontal. It's over. There's no more argument. So shouts out to Bev and Grim. Grim's the man, even for being a baller. Have a good night, guys.
I popped out and popped back in right at the right moment.
Thanks, Jeremy. Jimbo.
A really good show, and just to note again, there are a lot of flat earthers out there we've never heard of with sometimes good material and stuff, and maybe it might be good if some people just actually sub if they like Craig Brown and at least one or two of his videos there.
Yeah, I checked that out and shared the link in the YouTube chat for people who wanted to check that out. I'm going to give that a watch later myself. So thanks for bringing that one up.
Find new people, try to share them because they're being hid from us, and that's just a fact.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jimbo. George.
How you doing there?
Good, man. How are you?
Oh, fine. I always tend to get home fairly late, so I only catch about half an hour of the show. So I want to thank you as I'm having my dinner and listening to you guys. It always puts a smile on my face.
Hey, thank you, George.
It's more like an ignorant canine smirk.
Oh, you couldn't have just let it be positive,
You're welcome, George.
could you, Jimbo?
Yeah.
Translating it to the truth.
Lemon.
Oh, a lot of this gravity stuff is metaphysical. I would recommend that we go back into the ancient metaphysics with the Kybalion. It talks about the outward masculine and the inward gravity, like feminine forces that they seem to use to base a lot of their theory on. So it's like a 100, 200-page book, not that long. But since we're dealing with metaphysicians, we need to look at the basis for their metaphysics, as it were.
Cool. Thanks, Lemon. Dave. Rakia.
Yeah, I've been just kind of listening in. Thank you, Brandon.
Cool, man. Thank you. Rob. He'll come back to his microphone. SE.
Yes, sir. Good show, Brandon. I missed a bit of it, but I'm going to rehear it. Great show. Yeah, shout out Grim, the ball earther, and shout out Bev, the level earther. Later, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks, SE. Bob.
Nothing really to add at this time.
All right, fair enough. And then Rob, I don't know if you're back. No. All right. Well, thanks to the panel for coming. Interesting conversation. Tomorrow we have Critical Think, who is going to come in and give us another presentation, I believe, on perspective. So that should be interesting. Get your proofs in relation to perspective ready and get ready for an interesting conversation. And then, I don't know, do you guys want to do Friday Friendly Fire tomorrow, or do you want to do it at once every 2 weeks, or what do you guys think?
Oh, it doesn't matter to me. I mean,
it sounds catchy, man. I like it every week. What about that? Why would you wait for 2 weeks?
I enjoy it a lot. It helps hone our skills.
It's mad fun. I'm not gonna lie, it's a good exercise.
Okay.
I think you get enough people. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. If you guys think it's cool, I was just wondering if it was too much to do it once a week, but then we're going to do Friday Friendly Fire tomorrow as well. We'll have to host a new champion. Who is the champion this week? Brian Leakey, right?
Yeah, it should have been me, but it's Brian.
So Brian, you gotta come defend your crown, brother. Hopefully you can make it tomorrow night.
I'll be there.
Sweet.
I heard Brian paid off some judges there. I'm just
here.
saying, I don't know if it's true.
Brandon. Brandon.
Yo. Oh, there he is. Rob.
I made it. Okay. So I don't have much to say because Jeremy did it for me. Bev, try thinking. The channel is just called Try Thinking. And just watch a couple of his latest videos and you will have a good time.
All right.
Fuck with Bev, man. Get your geometry up.
Thanks, Rob. Okay, everybody. Thank you. I'll be back. I'll record the after show. All right. Well, that was cool. Another meandering conversation about whatever came up. But it was fun. Tomorrow, Critical Think, Friday Friendly Fire. Hope you guys will join us again for Friday night. Head into the weekend with some fun. And thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to those who supported the channel. Why Kick a Moo Cow 855. Flat for Life. Shout out. And everybody else in the chat. See you tomorrow. Bye.